What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Justin from Justin Paul Sports. It is Friday, October the 3rd. We are in the best sports month of the year. We got the World Series that's going to play out this month. We're going to have the start of basketball season. Everybody gets a little excited for some college hoops. NBA preseason, I think, started tonight. And we got college football. We're going to start getting into conference play for everybody at this point this upcoming week. And we're getting deep into our NFL season. So, well, not deep, but we're in the first leg of it. A lot of 0-4 fantasy football teams out there. But that's part of the reason why you watch this show is so we can give you advice on who to start and sit. And with that being said, let me bring on my co-host with the most from the great state of Mississippi. It is Bobby from Bobby's Big Board. What's going on, Bobby?
What is going on, guys? We're in week 6 now, or week 5? Week 5, we're through the first quarter of the season. A lot of surprises, some big-time injuries as well. We'll go ahead and talk about that throughout the show. But, yeah, super exciting college football weekend as always, and we have some pretty intriguing matchups this weekend as well. So always excited to talk ball. I'll say that every single episode.
Speaking of ball, I know this is off season a little bit, but UFL, real quick, they had their free agency start a few days ago, and then today, the owner of the UFL announced that 3 teams are going to be folding and relocating. He hasn't announced where they're relocating, but Memphis, who had terrible attendance, is out. San Antonio was kind of a shocking one because they had a bunch of people that showed up to that game because there's no competition at the Alamo Dome. So Memphis is out, San Antonio's out. And another one's out off the top of my head, just escapes me. But they're going to be moving. One of them's definitely going to Columbus because that was already announced. Looks like one's going to Orlando, and another one might possibly be going to Louisville. I mean, they're trying to do these MLS smaller stadiums, so you get a point of smaller emphasis on what they're trying to do. Because the spring football, you're not going to pull those NFL numbers. That's Michigan, the champion, is getting moved. I think that they were saying the cost of renting these stadiums was just out of control, so they're going to smaller venues, which makes sense. I hope they put a team out here in Arizona where the Sun Devils play. We got a few comments here. Let's get it, boys. We are excited. This is great. We're back on Friday night. That's what I love to see. My boy Paulie the Pipe. Thank you for joining me, Paulie. So I've never told you about Paulie, but Paulie is he is my gambling mentor. About 15, 20 years older than I am. Has sat with me, taught me how to read these lines. Just absolutely a legend. So thanks for tuning into the show, Paulie. We've got 6 viewers. And let's just get started with what we got going on this week, Bobby, unless there's anything you want to plug or promote before we start here.
No, we got some content coming y'all's way soon on Bobby's Big Board, but nothing quite yet. So let's go ahead and get straight into it, guys. So now we've changed the format up a little bit. We're going to be going over the college games first instead of second like we did beforehand. So any guys that are into your college football, we're doing it first, save you guys a little bit of time. So first game, a little bit exciting. Texas going to the Swamp, playing Florida. You know, DJ Lagway, little underwhelming thus far this season. You know, I know they were hoping for a big leap forward for him, but guy just doesn't look like he's comfortable in the pocket at all. Texas, they've kind of gotten their footing back since the Ohio State loss. I think Texas is going to clear here with -6.5. Florida, you know, great defense, but offensively they are just stuck in the mud. I think Texas is where I would lean here.
Boy, neither one of these teams can move the ball. I mean, it's been bad optics for Texas when you got Arch Manning just straight flexing, brother. He's just straight flexing on
Sam Houston.
Sam Houston State, folks. Like, you're flexing on Sam Houston State. That's like pushing down a small person and then flexing over him because you're just naturally bigger. But
yeah,
I think this line's really perplexing. But I'm going to take Florida in the 6.5 here. I know they're in desperation mode. I mean, Texas they're coming off the bye week, and they may come out there and go full throat and just absolutely destroy Florida. That's very possible. That happens. There's enough talent there, but Florida's got talented players too. But they've got the experienced quarterback. I think that they're going to be focused. They don't want to be embarrassed at home. So in this scenario, I'm going to take I'm going to take Florida. I'm going to take the Gators in 6.5 points at home here. I like that. I wish it was 7, but I think that's just more of a environmental matchup. I think Lagway finally gets it together. I mean, this team has played a gauntlet compared to what Texas has played. Texas has played Ohio State, But then after that, it's been a whole lot of nothing. So give me the
Yeah.
Gators. Take 6.5 at home at the Swamp. And I think it might be a really close, exciting football game. That's for sure.
We need it. I love Lagway's intangibles with what he brings to the table with his arm. So I would love for him to pull it together for sure. But right now, I am completely out on him. One thing I do want to mention, you see our records against the spread thus far. So me and Justin very close, 16-13. I am 15-13. You are, and the only reason that you have one less win than me is because you avoided a couple of lines. I avoided a line. You avoided a line. One that you were just staying away from. So that's why there's a little variance there. But we both went 4-2 last week. We had some differing opinions on certain games, but nonetheless, we still ended up winning more than we lost against the spread. So we're still doing pretty good on the season. But the next game, a game that I know you're going to be tuned in for, the game that you're kind of excited about, you've got Vanderbilt number 16 going to Tuscaloosa. Tuscaloosa is looking to get that win back. Number 10, Alabama. They're trying to get that win back from last year. Obviously, they're the big upset. Vanderbilt won in Nashville last year, but Alabama, they've been looking phenomenal since the week one loss to Florida State. I think that was a little bit of an eye-opener for you guys, and since then, y'all have just been on a tear. Y'all just beat Georgia in Athens last weekend. So I do think Alabama wins this.
Uh-huh.
I think it's a very perfect line because I do think Vanderbilt can be somewhat competitive, but I'm gonna say Alabama. I think this line's moved to -11.5. I'm going to take Alabama and the points here, but I'm very curious to see how competitive this game is.
So it's so funny because everybody's all about Vanderbilt, all about them, and rightfully so. They're 5-0. It's a great story. I mean, these are smart kids. You can't be dumb and go to Vanderbilt. They don't make academic exceptions. Diego Pavia has been beating his chest, which you should. I mean, it's the first time you beat Alabama in a long time at home. It was an upset last year when they were number one. But I'm definitely taking the Crimson Tide to cover here. Absolutely taking it to cover. So here's the story, right? Alabama comes out against Florida State. They look like ass, and they get handed to them for not hustling and all this and that, as they rightfully deserve to be when you're loafing on tape. But I think that sometimes when you get embarrassed in something like that, you've got two options. You can either collapse and fold, like we saw with Florida State last year in that game against Georgia Tech across the pond. They just never recovered. They ended up losing to Memphis and having a really rotten season. But here, I think that we've seen Kalen DeBoer kind of have enough of this shit about questioning who he is as a coach. And now he's got a road win, which was kind of like the hump that they had to get over. And they broke the SEC, longest SEC home winning streak at 33 games or whatever it was down there at Bryant-Denny East. But I'm going to say this. Vanderbilt has just been absolutely taunting this team. I mean, game days decided to get Theo Vaughn out there, who's not an Alabama alumnus, to pick the game as a guest picker. I think very quietly, Alabama's going to be about business, put belt ass in Vanderbilt. I'm going to lay the 10.5. I think Alabama reminds the world who they are and who Vanderbilt's beat. Vanderbilt their best win was at South Carolina without Lenore Sellers. That has to be factored into what you're taking here. Their offense is electric, but their offense has faced a bunch of nobodies. And Virginia Tech fired their coach already, so that doesn't really count to me as an impressive win. Alabama's played better competition with Wisconsin, ironically, Florida State, who they lost to, and going to Georgia. I don't think there's a hangover here. I think this is rolling up our sleeves and remembering how they've taunted Alabama all year, which you get the right to do when you win. Make no mistake. Taking your goalpost 3 miles to the Cumberland River in Nashville. But I don't think that I don't think they cover. I think this is a reality check. Give me the Crimson Tide, and I'll lay the points. Roll Tide.
All right. Yeah. So I don't know if it's going to be a landslide for Alabama, but I do think they win. I'm just very hesitant about that line. I wouldn't put money on that one, but I would lean Alabama if I had to choose. Next up, we have Miami, number 3. They've had a great season thus far. Started off really strong, kind of cooled down a little bit, through the season, through the first, last 3 weeks. They've kind of cooled down a little bit. And they're going on the road to play Florida State, number 18. So for me, I'm glad you brought up the whole Florida State thing last year at Georgia Tech because I was going to 100% bring it up if you didn't. Florida State, whenever they lose, they kind of fall apart a little bit. Now, it's
Yeah.
not the same team as last year. They've brought in a bunch of new players, but I think last week's game versus Virginia was a really big time deflation moment for the Florida State Seminoles. I think Miami is definitely covering here. I think they beat them by 10 points. So I got Miami in the points here.
I'm with you as well. Doak Campbell's going to be rocking. This is a good rivalry. It's a fun rivalry, especially since I'm indifferent to both these teams. But I'm going to take Carson back until I see him. This is a guy who's won the SEC, who's won at Georgia, who's played in big games, who's beat everybody that they faced realistically. I think that they were going to make a run last year until he got hurt in that Texas game. I think they would have really gave fits to everybody else. I think they would have been a really tough out last season with him. But I'm going to take the Hurricanes here. I think that this is a well-rounded team. I like their coaching staff better. All-around returning team. They're playing great football. It should be a great ACC matchup for the fans. But I'm going to take the Canes to win by a touchdown here. So give me the Canes. I'll lay the points on this one as well. And normally I don't like to do a lot of chalks, but in this case it feels right.
Yeah.
So
for me, their defense, I don't know if you've been watching any film on the edge rushers for Miami. Both of those guys might be first-round pick edge rushers.
Sure.
Remember how Clemson was in, 2021, right, when they had like 5 first-round picks on the defensive line or something crazy like that? This is similar to how Miami's defense is crazy. Carson Beck's doing really well. They've got Fletcher, I think his name is, the running back. He's a big-time guy. I really loved him last year in limited action. So definitely like the Hurricanes here. I'm glad that I like the Hurricanes, man. They've got a really good history, right? They got a bunch of really historical players. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Sean Taylor, a bunch of guys, especially on defense. But yeah, glad to see them making a comeback and kind of becoming relevant again, because there was a while there where they just weren't really that competitive. But now we're moving on to a game that I'm going to be very invested in as a Mississippi State fan. State's going to College Station, playing Texas A&M, number 6. Texas A&M minus 15.5-point favorites. I get it's on the road, but State's been competitive with everyone that they've played. They beat Arizona State, who was ranked 12 at the time. They took number 15 Tennessee to overtime, and I think we should have won that game if we had some different coaching play calls at the end of the game, but it's neither here nor there. I'd like State to cover plus 15.5 here. I think this game's going to be a little bit closer. Texas A&M, they're coming off that kind of sluggish game against Auburn last week where they only put up 16 points the whole game. I think State can surprise people. We had multiple dropped touchdowns, a bunch of touchdowns called back. I think if we can get our penalties figured out, I think State can possibly go in and get an upset and we could be ranked. But I do think they're not going to get beat by 15 points for sure. I think they'll be able to be in this game and keep it competitive.
It's a real interesting lineup. I think that, Texas A&M, they struggled last week against it was Auburn, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 16-10.
It's 16-10. I think in Auburn, absolutely, to my non-chagrin, has fallen off their high horse a little bit about what they were at the beginning of the season. Mississippi State has absolutely done amazing for themselves this season. I mean, started off with that was a 4-0 start.
4-0 start, and we took Tennessee to overtime.
Right.
Could have been 5-0.
But I'm going to go opposite here. I'm going to lay the points, which is crazy to me. I mean, this is, I think, the first true road test for this football team.
Yeah.
All right. And Texas A&M has absolutely stacked roster. They've got a great quarterback. They've got quality head coaching there. And although the Yale Club is kind of silly, I think that A&M's got the horses to kind of beat Mississippi State deep. I mean, we saw their offense break open against Notre Dame, and that was the first time that you really seen an explosion offensively with a team like that. I think that they're going to feast on State's secondary here. I think this game gets out of hand at halftime. I'm sorry to say that to you, Bobby. But I'm going to lay – it's a lot of points, but I'm going to lay the 15.5 here. I'm going to take the Aggies. I think that they're a special football team. I think at this point they might qualify for the SEC championship, which is kind of crazy for me to say about this team, who's only
Yeah.
had one or a handful 10-win seasons. But like I said at the beginning of the year about Texas A&M, I said they would beat Texas on Thanksgiving night, Thanksgiving weekend, and for sure. So I do have investment in there. And Eric joined the show. Thanks for watching, Eric. He says he put a little future on A&M. I don't disagree with that. I think that's a smart bet. So I'm going to lay the points here. I'm going to take the Aggies, but I will never
Well,
say a little catchphrase because it's just absolutely ridiculous.
now I will say Texas A&M, they're a better team than they were last year. I will say
Yep.
that 100%. Mississippi State is a completely different team from last
Yes,
year.
agree.
Completely different team, and we only lost to them by 10 last year. We went to Athens last year, only lost by 10. So I think we'll be able to cover here. I think we're way more competitive than we were last year. I mean, last year we won 2 games. We won 2 games. Now we've won 4, and I think we get our 5th this weekend. I'm a State fan, of course. I'm going to be drinking the Kool-Aid, but I think this is a game that we could win because I think people are overlooking us a little bit now because of the Tennessee loss. I think we have a little bit of surprises in store for them. So we'll see. I definitely think we're not going to get beat by that much. But next up, a very interesting line. Iowa State number 14 going to Cincinnati. I don't know if you have any insider information. I kind of tried to look a little bit while I was at work today. I don't know why Iowa State is underdogs here, but Cincinnati minus 1.5. I'm going to go with the ranked team in Iowa State and take the plus 1.5 for Iowa State. Am I wrong to do that, or like why is the line like this?
I'm not quite certain. There must be some kind of situation here. I'm just checking to see if their quarterback's out because Iowa State, in that game against Kansas State, they were absolutely dominant to start off the season.
Yeah.
Rocco Becht is just the guy.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I can't quite see why this has been
Is
happening
it
to
just
them.
because it's a road game? Like, I don't get it.
You think that something's easy like that, but there's a reason why lines are like that. But I think it's more about Cincinnati. I mean, Cincinnati did go and pushed Nebraska to the limit earlier in
Yeah,
the season.
I remember
But
that.
I think that Beck pulls it out here. I mean, it's a good line. I would take the money line here. I think that they win outright.
Yeah,
But I don't think that this is a crush. There's a reason why the Bearcats have this line at home. I mean, it's a noon kickoff on your time. Just give me the Iowa State to win the game. I'll take the 1.5, but I think I would bet the money line just for the extra for the odds.
All right, last but not least, another thing that I'm kind of confused about, number 24, Virginia, coming off the win against Florida State. They're going on the road to play Louisville. Louisville, minus 6.5-point favorites. I am taking the Cavaliers here because, they're kind of like the surprise of the year thus far. They've been playing way better than expected, kind of up there with State. Both of those teams have been, very much exceeding expectations, but with the win against Florida State, I think they're on a heater right now. They've got a ton of momentum. I think they go into Louisville, and I think that they can at least make it close. But, yeah, I'm taking Virginia plus 6.5.
This is a letdown spot. I'm going to take Louisville and lay the points. I've been doing way against my my instincts on some of this stuff, but I mean, Virginia's a fun pick but they did go to overtime, to win that game. I just don't know why we're seeing this happen. I mean, Louisville is a quality football team.
They are.
And Virginia is having one of their better seasons. It just feels like Louisville will cover those points. I just can't see Virginia maintaining this pace for them because it's kind of a prove it spot for me. I'll lay the points here. I'll take Louisville at home. I mean, we got going on the road and winning is a whole lot different than doing it at home, which
Absolutely.
obviously beating Florida State at home. And sometimes you get yourself up for those games like that, and then after that, it's kind of a little different for being able to maintain and sustain that kind of thing. I mean, it's just really ridiculous. I mean, Louisville's undefeated; they're 4-0, and Virginia is 4-1. So it's a really, really close game, but away from home, Virginia hasn't won a game yet. And this is going to be a huge conference game for ACC. Two big conference games, with Miami and Florida State. And then this one here, you might see one of these teams potentially throw themselves in for the ACC title game if they're able to maintain it. So I think Virginia's ranking is a little overreaction, but I understand why they give it to them for beating Florida State. So
Yeah.
I'll take Louisville. I'll lay the points. Every game. Well, no, I took Iowa State as a dog, and I took Florida as a dog. So 4-2 chalks are a big deal for me. My goodness.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely. Looks
Paulie
like
says
Paulie.
minus 13.5 on the Navy. It's a release. So his releases are, whenever he gives out releases, he's very, very good with those kind of things. So maybe Navy will be the interesting matchup there.
Look, Paulie, I love me some military academies. I'm a big Army Black Knights fan. So, I respect Navy, but whenever they have the Army-Navy game every year, I'm going to be going the Black Knights. Obviously, the Army hasn't played their best football this year, losing to Tarleton State, but they've been close in pretty much every single game outside of last week. So they play UAB this weekend. I'm very curious on how that game goes. I think
Go Blazers, baby.
I think they're minus 6.5 point favorites versus UAB, but UAB's been pretty competitive themselves. So with Army, man, they just can't figure out the quarterback situation. They can't throw the ball nearly as well as they did last year. Obviously, that's not their bread and butter, but you need to have the threat of that whenever you're running the triple option. So, yeah, I hope the Black Knights win, and I hope Navy wins this weekend as well. So go midshipmen. I can't believe I'm saying that, but yeah. Anyways, we're going to go into our NFL now. We're looking at our first game. So we just looked at the Thursday night game. I don't know if you want to talk about that, but me and you both made a decent amount of money on that Thursday night football game, the 49ers and the Rams. Your play of Thursday was 49ers +7. And I got a custom odd. So I do want to talk about that real quick on Cut. Yeah, on Cut. Shout out to Cut. We'll talk about them a little bit more in a little bit. But Cut, online betting app, peer-to-peer betting that's legal pretty much everywhere now. I got +2.5 on the 49ers. Custom odds, which was way better odds than +8.5, which was the line whenever the game started.
Yes.
And, of course, they covered. I knew that they were going to win the game. I don't believe in the Rams' defense, and they started really slow on offense as well. So I ended up getting basically quadrupling my money on Cut thanks to that. So very good things that you can get custom odds. So I think that's a really cool thing about Cut. But we'll move on to this game. Vikings at Browns. Minnesota +3.5 point favorites. Looks like Carson Wentz going to get another start. And it's the beginning of the Dillon Gabriel saga of the Browns. I don't want to say chapter or, because we don't know how long this is going to be. I mean, Dillon Gabriel could be a 2-3 week starter, and then they could, pull in Shadur. I do believe in Gabriel. He's a little bit short, but I love his decision making. I think the Browns win outright here at home. I think they're going to have kind of like what the Giants did last week versus the Chargers. I think the Browns, elite defense. I think Gabriel can keep the ball out of the defender's hands and have a smart football game managed the whole time. I think that's kind of what Gabriel is. The Browns win. I'm going to take the Browns money line, but if we're doing the spread, Browns +3.5.
Well, this is the game that's in London. And remember, the Vikings are already over there, so they got that going for them as well.
I forget their overseas games. Yeah.
I will say this. I do think that Cleveland made the right decision here because Joe Flacco, it's time to go.
Yep.
With all due respect, you're 40 years old. You're turning the ball over. It was a miracle of special teams that you had that one little drive to get Green Bay in the game that you did win. But I will say that defense is absolutely just fierce. Like I've said it on this show many times, how much I believe in that defense. Highway robbery over the Jaguars, drafting what you drafted, 2 starters immediately, plus you signed Isaiah Bond. I think that the future is bright in Cleveland. It may not happen this year, but I think that the Browns can win with just consistency at quarterback. And I think Dillon Gabriel, unlike Shador, is about business. He wants to go in there. He wants to win this job. I know he's excited for the opportunity Dylan Gabriel has played at Oregon, so he's played at an elite program in the Big Ten. I'm going to take the Browns in the points here, but I think this game is super tight. I don't trust Carson Wentz. Aaron Jones is injured, so he's not going to play. And Jordan Mason is more than reliable. You still got Jefferson. Yep. TJ Hawkinson's kind of vanished from the fantasy perspectives overall. But I'll take the Browns and the points here. I don't know if it wins, but it could be a 23-20 final. I think that the energy in the Browns is going to be high because they're not having to worry about Flacco making these mistakes. You can see the body language with Joe Flacco, and the fans had it. I mean, the Browns were booing him out of the building. I don't blame them, Browns fans. So, yeah, give me the Browns.
Yeah, I definitely think it's done for Flacco. I think he ends up retiring before the season's over. But absolutely, I love some of the starts and sits here. I'll kind of explain myself on a few of the sits, but Justin Jefferson still, in my opinion, the best wide receiver in football. I think he has the safest floor of any wide receiver in the NFL. I mean, he's going to give you 10 points pretty much every single week, probably even more than that. So Jefferson, no-brainer start. Same thing with Jordan Mason. He's going to get the volume, and until he gets hurt, he's a very efficient running back. I think he has 5.5 yards a carry right now, and he's gotten an insane amount of volume over the past 2 weeks. So going with Jordan Mason, and I do think TJ Hawkinson can have some sort of a day here. Maybe he fades into irrelevancy. I'm not 100% sure, but I do think Hawkinson can be somewhat relevant today. So I am going to go with TJ Hawkinson over, your Dalton Schultz. Even a guy like there's a few guys that I'd start him over, but obviously if you have one of the higher end options, I'm going to take them over TJ. But like a high end option, Harold Fannin Jr., I think he's going to have a big day. They target him a ton. I think Gabriel and him are going to have some rapport together. I think they're going to have some chemistry. I think Harold Fannin Jr. might be in line for 8-9 targets this week at the minimum. So they use him at wide receiver. He's a cheat code. And then Judkins. I know their defensive front for the Vikings are a little, solid here and there, but I think Judkins, he's been very efficient the past, 3 weeks now. He's scored in back-to-back weeks. They're just using him crazily. I mean, they use him so much. I know against the Packers, he didn't do too well until about the third, fourth quarter, and then he was able to break off some runs. Think about him a little bit like Derrick Henry, just not with the crazy high-end speed, but Judkins is a guy that's never going to get tired. He can handle 30 carries easily, and by the fourth quarter, you're going to be tired of tackling this guy. And I think him, like Jacobs, there's very few running backs in the NFL like him now. You got Jacobs, you got Jonathan Taylor, right, Judkins, and, maybe Bijan's the only other guy that I can think of. So, and Derrick Henry, but he's not used in passing down. So Judkins, I definitely think he's a high-end RB2 at the worst right now. So like him. And then I've got sits, Carson Wentz. He looks kind of all over the place. He'll do good for 3, 4, 5 pass attempts and then throw a crazy throw out of nowhere. That's kind of what he's been his entire career. So I'm staying away from him right now. Jordan Addison, outside of the one big catch for like 80 yards, he was pretty much irrelevant last week. With Carson Wentz, I think he's only good enough to kind of give one person a fantasy relevant day. So I like Justin Jefferson to be that guy. So staying away from Jordan Addison, I think he'll probably have 8-9 points total this weekend. And then Dylan Gabriel, I like Dylan Gabriel, but like I said earlier, he's a game manager. I think he's probably in line for 180 to 200 yards and a touchdown. I think that's what he's going to do. I think they're going to rely on Quinshawn a ton this weekend. And then Jerry Jeudy, I think he gets an upgrade at quarterback, in my opinion. Jeudy is going to have a better quarterback, but I still think his ceiling is his floor is literally 5 points. And I think I got to stay away from that for now until he proves that he can be a little bit more consistent with a new quarterback under center. And then a guy that I am excited about in Dynasty, Isaiah Bond. I was super excited about him. I thought he was a second-round talent. I know transfer to Texas. There was some bad blood there, and he was very inconsistent throughout college. I think he has not a single game over 100 yards in his whole entire collegiate career, which is interesting. But he's a guy that's just super fast. He's a speedster. He can break the game with his speed out of nowhere. I think they needed a guy like this that can stretch the field. Tillman's out. Judy is, kind of fast with the ball in his hands, but like Isaiah Bond a ton, I think Bond can have a decent day, but I need to see a big day. I need to see what Gabriel does with this offense first before I feel comfortable starting him.
So based on all your projections, I'm not starting any Viking except Justin Jefferson because the Browns defense is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. They're going to be in a position to make better plays because they don't have Joe Flacco out there. So I think that the Vikings, are going to be it's going to be tough for them to score. I'm not big on Carson Wentz. There's a reason why he's on the bench or why he's only starting because, of the injury to McCarthy. I think the Vikings have a long-term issue at quarterback. I'm not a J.J. McCarthy guy. I'd start JJ, I'd start Fannin, and I'd start Judkins. And then the rest of them, I'm agreeing with sitting on them. Yeah, I saw that.
That's amazing.
It's a tough game to kind of have fantasy players for. I've got a handful of Browns players in my dynasty leagues. I like Judkins a lot. He's a 3-down back. So I'd feed him all day. Fannin Jr., I'm in accordance with you as far as thinking he's an elite talent. But the rest of these guys, Dylan Gabriel until further notice. Isaiah Bond until further notice, you just got to see it. So let's go on to the next one.
Absolutely. You got to see it. And I will say Jordan Mason, he's playing an elite defense. I do think that the game will be close enough to where he probably gets 20, 22 carries. And whether or not that's like Tony Pollard 20, 22 carries or JT 20, 22 carries, I'm not sure. But, Tony Pollard with 22 carries gets you 70, 80 yards, and that's it. Jordan Mason, he could get you 140 and maybe a touchdown. So it's very curious. I would like to see how he does against this defense, but just based on volume alone, I feel like you have to start him. But going on to the next game, got one that I'm kind of excited about. The Raiders are going on the road to play the Indianapolis Colts. Indianapolis, minus 6.5-point favorites. They did fall a little bit. They lost their last game. Danny Dimes showed some kinks in the armor finally. Dude was just rocking and rolling those first few weeks, man. Wow. Yeah. But he showed a little bit of struggles last week, but they play the Raiders, who their defense is middle of the pack. Their offense is struggling a ton because Geno Smith, he's either on it or not. I think the Colts minus 6.5, I think they win by a touchdown. I would feel comfortable with them winning by a touchdown because their defense is playing decently. JT's one of the best running backs in football. And Danny Dimes in this offense, man. Tyler Warren's looking amazing. I like what the Colts are doing more. I do think Genty, though. We'll talk about him in a second. But Indianapolis minus 6.5 for me.
I'm going to take the Raiders and the points because I think these teams are more evenly matched than people think.
Yeah.
Like you said, the Colts have been just absolutely rolling people to start the season. Didn't punt. They were absolute wagon is a term that young folks like to use. But both of these teams have great running backs. They like to tease Genty for being at Boise State, but he showed that he can play football. The Colts got Taylor. Neither one of these teams have elite quarterbacks. The Colts have a better rushing upside with Daniel Jones. The game's indoors. Both these teams play indoors. I'm still going to trust Pete Carroll a little bit more. I think the Colts win this game on a game-winning field goal. So I'm going to take 6.5 points. If this gets bumped up to 7, I'm definitely locking it in for a play. They still got Jacoby Myers. I know Brock Bowers hasn't practiced all week, but they said that he's going to be on a snap count. But they do have Mayer to back him up, who's not nearly as good as Brock Bowers. And they still got Jacoby Myers. They still got, I think Dante Thornton's going to get a touchdown. If I was to do a touchdown prop, it would be him. I think he's going to smoke somebody, get one of those nice, 50-yard touchdowns because the dude is just a freak athlete. I don't like Tennessee players worth a lick, but that guy can just smoke it. 6'4", runs like the wind. I think he's going to cook somebody. I think we're going to see Geno to Thornton for a touchdown in this game for sure. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'd be fun. I don't like indoor football. I preach against that stuff all the time. I think it takes away from it. Fun fact, Bobby, when I was in high school, I went to Indiana. I grew up in Indiana. My junior year in high school, we got to play in the old RCA Dome where the Colts are. So I have been in an NFL locker room.
Heck yeah. Awesome.
That was a long time ago, though. That was back when dinosaurs roamed the earth. You see all this white hair right there.
So here's some of the start sets. So Daniel Jones, I think the defense, like I said, is a little bit middle of the pack. I think Daniel Jones can have a decent day, a decent bounce back day. He was still, somewhat fantasy relevant last week. even though he only threw a touchdown and a pick. Jonathan Taylor, if you're not starting him, I don't know what you're doing. Every single week, Jonathan Taylor has the upside to go for 30, 40 points. So JT, definitely a start for me. And Tyler Warren scores his first touchdown on the season last weekend. Did you see how he did it? Because it wasn't a receiving touchdown. It was a rushing touchdown. I said that in my opener on him pre-season. I said Tyler Warren might have 3 or 4 rushing touchdowns on the season because that's just the type of player that he can be for the Colts.
You were definitely big on him. I remember
I was huge on him.
Big on him. Yep.
Yeah. He was my tight end 1, and it wasn't particularly close. I wasn't a big Colson Loveland guy. I had him as my tight end 3, had Harold Fannin Jr. as my tight end 2. So from a person that played the position, I feel like I got a pretty good beat on, what's successful at the NFL level in terms of a receiving threat. So Tyler Warren has been killing it right now. He actually leads the team in receiving yards and receptions still, if I believe, as of this week. So Tyler Warren, definitely a start for me, especially in tight end premium leagues. I mean, he's just an auto start. And Genty, people were, kind of hopping off the hype train on Genty a little bit, right? Because the blocking's been atrocious. Up until last week, he had more yards after contact than he actually had yards, which I don't even know how that's possible, but that means he got tackled behind the line of scrimmage a lot.
Well, that's not on him fully. I mean, if you're getting tackled behind the line of scrimmage, there's issues up front for sure.
Yeah, the blocking's been atrocious. He hasn't had much leeway to go anywhere, and you see it on every single play, man. He's trying to make something happen, and you saw it last weekend. 3 total touchdowns, 140-something yards, RB1 on the week last weekend. He's got the upside. I think they finally figured out how to utilize him. And there's one little difference. And this is speculative and is stupid for me to even bring up, but he's got the Michael Myers stance again. You remember the first 4 weeks of the season, he's doing the classic, and then Najee Harris tears his Achilles doing it. And all of a sudden they're like, okay, maybe he should go back to the Michael Myers stance where there's not a risk of him tearing his Achilles like that. Genty looked phenomenal in that stance. I doubt that changes ever again. So I think they've put that to rest now. Ashton Genty, I think, is a high-end RB1 finish this weekend. And then Brock Bowers, you said he's on a snap count, but I still think he can be very reliable in the passing game. He's one of the guys that they have to go to over and over and over again. I was a guy that said, hey, sell Brock Bowers. Sell Brock Bowers. I've said it multiple times. He was a first-round startup pick, Justin. He was a first-round startup pick as a tight end.
Is it a tight end premium?
Even if it's a 0.5 tight end premium, you're taking him over guys like Patrick Mahomes? Absolutely not. I'm sorry. You can't pick him over guys like that. So I was telling people his price is through the roof right now. Sell him, and he's underwhelmed thus far. His price has tanked a good bit throughout the season thus far since he's underwhelmed, but I still think he's startable. And if he's your tight end 1, I wouldn't feel bad about it whatsoever. Then we move on to the sits. Geno Smith is way too hit or miss for me right now. I want to say he still leads the NFL in interceptions. If not, he's up towards the top of that. I mean, he's just all over the place. I'm staying away from him. He will probably have a 30-point game because of that. But staying away from him. And Trey Tucker. Trey Tucker had a 40-point game 2 weeks ago, right? 3 touchdowns, 100 yards, whatever. Stay away from Trey Tucker, please. I'm telling you guys now, he is not a consistent asset. He scored all of his touchdowns in the first 3 weeks of the season. He had just as many touchdowns in those first 3 weeks as he's ever had in a season. He is a guy, I love what he brings to the table as like this gadget guy. You can see, even in his picture, he's a big, muscular, just athlete. He's like a muscle hamster, man. He's a great player. But the offense, the passing offense, has way too many bodies. You got Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers. All of a sudden, the possession can be over because they threw a 60-yard touchdown to Dante Thornton. I just don't think there's a lot of targets to go around, and I think Geno's just throwing it to whoever he can. I think Trey Tucker is just not consistent enough for me. He had 2 targets last weekend. Staying away from him. Josh Downs, another guy who I was really high on throughout, the preseason, was kind of worried about the quarterback play, but Josh Downs, he's been a little banged up with a hamstring this year, just like he was last year. but he just hasn't been getting consistent targets. He's gotten a big catch here and there, 40, 50 yards every single game. He's just a guy that has a decent floor, but not a super high ceiling as of right now. So staying away from him. Same thing with Michael Pittman. I don't really like the Colts receivers right now because they're throwing so much to Tyler Warren. It's like the Raiders wide receivers last year, right? There just wasn't a lot to go around because their tight end was getting the majority of the targets. Michael Pittman could have a decent day, but I'm staying away from him now. I think there's better flex plays than Michael Pittman Jr. And if you guys watch the stats, if you guys are stat watchers, you're going to be like, man, Adonai Mitchell, 3 for 98. That's a great day for him. Well, that means you didn't watch the game. So as you see in the comment there, he had a really horrible play where, he's celebrating early, lets the ball fall out of the back of the end zone, cost them a touchdown. JT did it last year as well, dropping the ball before the goal line, right? And they end up losing the entire possession because of it. Adonai Mitchell, I love as an athlete. He's a super freak athlete, and I love his separation ability, but that is just kind of like a big no-no. I don't know if that affects his snap share. It might. But even if it doesn't, I don't like any of the Colts receivers this week, so staying away from all of them. But yeah, Adonai Mitchell, I guarantee you that never happens again because you've got a guy that's done it in JT. JT's going to be like, hey, man, just make sure it never happens again. Hold on to the ball. Never let that happen again, and I guarantee you that will never happen again.
He was also lined off sides on a touchdown play, too. So the Colts absolutely could have won that game last week. But sometimes it just happens. You got to see how they respond to it. So I like your sits. I like your starts here. I wouldn't start Bowers until I got a better health read on it.
Yeah.
Try and pick up, another tight end on your just in case he can't fully go. I mean, Brock Bowers had these injury issues way back from Georgia. But when he's on, man, you just can't miss. And I don't know how he'll do against a Colts defense at 50%. Yeah. I don't know if he can take over a game like somebody who used to be able to do that at that position, like Gronkowski or Kelsey. I mean, he's obviously got the tools to do it, but he doesn't have an elite quarterback to do that yet, even though he did it last season. I mean, last season he was doing it with trash men throwing him the football.
Yeah, Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah, like it's a wait and see. But there's not a Colts receiver that I've liked in years to ever play in fantasy, ever. Yeah. It just always seems like it's a disaster piece. I would avoid them at all costs. So good start, sit list there.
Yeah. And look, we have 27 viewers right now. We've been steadily growing. Thank you guys for watching. If y'all want to hop in the chat, look, absolutely, we answer any and all questions. So if you got any specific trades you want to talk about, any sit stuff, things like that, just let us know, man. Hop in the chat. We'll chat ball for sure.
It looks like Eric Etop Sports here. It looks like he's on X chatting. I didn't know that we can get comments through X like that. So if you're on there, absolutely ask questions. We'd love to take questions, whether it's betting, whether it's the fantasy football. This is just kind of like your first stop shop for NFL. We've already done our college picks, but even if you have questions about that stuff, and if you guys could please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to get to 200 subscribers, working my way up. It's just kind of been stuck in the 180s range. Tell a friend. It's free to subscribe. Absolutely. So I'd love to get that. Try to grow what I'm doing here. Let's go on to the next one.
Yep, we're going to go straight through them, man. Let's go to the next one. So we've got the New York Giants at the Saints, and the Giants are dogs in this game. Crazily enough, the Saints are 1.5-point favorites at home. Now, I will say the Saints last week versus the Bills played way better than a lot of people expected them to. I told you guys that they were going to cover, and they covered. It was a very competitive football game. And at this point, I got to ask you a question.
Sure.
The Saints, let's say they're bad enough to where they are 101. They get the 101 first overall pick. Rattler is playing just as good these past 3 weeks or 4 weeks. For the rest of the season, do they go quarterback with the 101?
I think you've got to wait and see. I mean, this team's been in financial disarray for God knows how long. I think that they're going to move Olave eventually here at the trade deadline. I mean, he's been getting fed the football, but Jesus, he can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
This team is in absolute dire straits. So I don't know if there's one particular quarterback that you're just going to kind of bring in there at the one-on-one to to save it. You've got to look at their cap ramifications of who they're going to release, those kinds of issues. There might be, they need help on the defense. I don't think that they go quarterback with the 1.1. I think they might trade out. This is a team
That's
where
exactly what I was going to say. I think they trade back and do something like the Browns did and just get a haul, right?
Yeah,
Because the
and there
Browns
will
are
be
looking
teams.
pretty into draft capital right now.
There will definitely be teams that are going to want to trade up in this draft, depending on how the season plays out. So I think the Saints are in a spot where they would trade out and just get a pick next year as well. They've got to
Especially
do
with
it.
the quarterbacks, man. You know how much draft capital someone's going to give up for like a Dante Moore or a Mendoza, or if Nussmeier figures it out, like Nussmeier even, like Tier. Like there's so many. I think the over-under right now for first-round quarterbacks is 5.5. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I would trade out. And in this game, as far as the line goes, I think the line changed dramatically with Malik Neighbors' injury. I think that's what the reaction is here. 2 weeks ago, the Saints got obliterated in Seattle. And I think the line last week, people were thinking, well, they're just going to go to Buffalo and get their asses handed to them. And that didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
Because at the beginning of the season, they thought this was going to be the worst team in the NFL, and it's not. The worst team in the NFL is the Tennessee Titans. I think the Titans are going to be the team that gets the 1 overall. Again, I do.
They don't go quarterback either.
No, but they might be in another situation where they trade down, but there might be a receiver that they take. Who knows? But nonetheless, I think that this line is not knowing, with a rookie quarterback making his first start on the road without a star receiver, and Tyrone Tracy's kind of out. Man, this is a really, really tough gambling line here. But because the Saints have better players on offense with Kamara and Olave and Rattler starting to get in a rhythm, and they showed last week that they were able to recover after a tough loss at Buffalo, I'm going to take the Saints and lay the points here. I think that they win like 23-20 or 21-18, 21-17. Enough to cover the line, win it at the end. And I really hate to say that because I do like the Giants as far as I like the Jackson Dart pick.
Yeah.
I like they got defensively up front, but I think the Saints will be able to. Kamara's going to break one off. Olave's going to, like they do for the breakout here. So I'll take the Saints. I'll lay the points at home.
So I'm going to go the opposite. I think the Giants will win this game because of the defensive players that the Giants have. They have a sneaky, not even sneaky. They have an elite front seven when it comes to the name value, right? Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, the guy that they just got this year from Penn State, Abdul Carter, right? So they have a bunch of guys, and I really like their wide receiver room too. I love Wandale. I think Darius Slayton's really underrated. Jalen Hyatt has done nothing, but Cam Scadaboo's coming into his own. He's getting a ton of carries, looking pretty efficient there. I wasn't super wowed with Dart last week when, they beat the Chargers. I thought he was fine. I didn't think he did anything, overwhelmingly skyrocketing to his value, but I do think he can be solid. I'm very curious to see how he does against the Saints, who aren't as good of a defense as the Chargers. Maybe he goes off. I'm not sure, but I'm going to go with the Giants here. And let's go ahead and go into some of the start-sits. I have Jackson Dart starting. I have him as a start for me. I think he's a solid QB2 in flex because of the rushing upside. I don't know how well he does in the passing game. I think he's solid there. He needs to develop a little bit more. But in terms of the rushing upside, I could absolutely see him getting another rushing touchdown this week. And Cam Scadaboo. This dude has more than a few screws loose. He's out there talking to his demons after he gets a 5-6 yard gain. He's talking to himself, shaking his head all around. But he's a dog. I mean, he's always been that. He's not the freakish athlete. He's not going to outrun anybody at all. But his strategy is, I'm going to hit the hole and I'm going to run straight until someone brings me down. And just so happens, Cam Scadaboo is a guy that's really hard to take down. I mean, he might be the hardest running back to tackle in all of football right now, and he is a rookie. he just has a freakish ability to where he can just break through tackles. That's just what he does. And Cam Skattebo, they've been feeding him the rock like crazy. I think Dart, they're trying to take as much pressure off of him as possible. So Skattebo, I think, is set to get 20 carries at least this game. So Skattebo, definitely a guy that I'm starting. Wandale, he already had a great floor of like 8-10 points. He has an even better floor now, and he's the wide receiver one for this team. I think Wandale, very underrated guy. I think he's going to get a ton of targets, so definitely starting Wandale. And Spencer Rattler, it's time to start talking about it. Like I said it last week. He did decent, 15 points last week. Spencer Rattler is just a guy that he hasn't thrown a pick yet. He's got like 6 touchdowns on the year, 7 touchdowns on the year, something like that. He's been playing great football. He's been smart with the football. He can run when he needs to. He's not making any dumb mistakes. He looks really sharpened. And that's something I really liked because I was not a Rattler fan when he was at Oklahoma. Wasn't a Rattler fan not because of the bad player, but because of the personality issues that I saw. Once he's gotten to the NFL, he got humbled. He was a 5th-round pick. Definitely got humbled. Not that 5-star caliber anymore, right? You got to work for it now. It's the NFL. You got to be a big boy. You got to be somebody that's not an asshole. And Spencer Rattler has developed, has a much better personality now from what I've seen in all the interviews. I'm a Spencer Rattler fan now, man. So I'm hoping and praying that he continues to do well. And I hope that he has a solid career in New Orleans. And then next up, Alvin Kamara.
Hold on one second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just imagine Spencer Rattler on the Browns. Like, I'm serious. I'm not talking about culture, just how he's playing football.
Yeah.
And tell me the Browns couldn't be 3-1 or 4-0 right now.
Yeah, because of the talent that they have.
It's just sometimes you're one player away. That's why, like, when you talked about him at the beginning, like, I don't think they're going to move on from him. I think he's going to outplay Tyler Shuck. I don't think we're going to see Tyler Shuck get on the field.
Yeah, at some point,
even if they keep losing and he's playing consistent, I think the Saints would be smart to say, look, we whiffed on that 2nd-round pick maybe a little bit, but if he can show, because there is the talent with Spencer.
Yeah.
There's the ability to throw the ball deep and things along that sort that's really difficult to find in the NFL.
Yeah.
And he's shown that he's got his head screwed on. Like we talked about that in our preseason reviews. I remember I said, I saw him on Rich Eisen. He's about business, and good for him for maturing. He's right here in Chandler, Arizona. Good for him. And I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I just thought about him on the Browns, how much better they would be instead of going for, Joe Flacco, who's clearly on the sunset of his career.
Yeah, I think it's set. I think his career is done. I don't think he ever starts another game in the NFL ever. I think he's about to go home to his couch again and hang out with the wife and kids. But yeah, Rattler and Gabriel, I think, are similar sorts of players, but Rattler has much higher upside because of that arm and that gunslinger ability. Dylan Gabriel, not so much of the arm strength, but a little bit smarter when it comes to understanding passing concepts and things like that. But I think Rattler's grown a lot in that area. And then last guy I want to start, Alvin Kamara, gets the passing volume. He gets the running volume. I know – what was his name? Kendre Miller had a decent showing. I think he had 12 carries, but it was just 4th quarter. Kamara was a little banged up, I believe, and they just gave Kendre the rock because he was hot, right? Same thing with Rachaad White a few weeks ago. When running backs get hot, you just keep feeding them the rock. But guys, Alvin Kamara is the starter. I wouldn't worry about it. He's going to continue to be fantasy relevant until, hopefully not, he gets hurt.
Could be a trade candidate as well there. He could be a
Dude,
trade
if
candidate.
he can be on the Chiefs, can we get it? Can we get him, please?
Seriously.
Can we give him a 4th-round pick and get him? Please. Give me Alvin Kamara. Somebody, please, to run the ball. Pacheco, cool. Kareem, great short yardage back, okay? I like our rookie, Brashard Smith out of SMU. Yeah. Great 3rd down back. Offers a little bit of, versatility, punt return, kick returns, whatever. We need a running back. Okay,
I think they might. I don't know his contract, but I think Kamara and Olave are trade candidates,
and Breece Hall as well.
But I think Kamara more because he's a veteran. Somebody might reach in and try and snatch him. Who's in a playoff push? We're still too early in the season to see who that might be.
Yeah,
but Kamara's got the receiving upside. He had that game on Christmas when he scored 6 touchdowns. It's all there. Ignore the squeaking. I got a dog, y'all. But I'm just saying, nonetheless, I think that somebody might pick him up. it just, these injuries are crazy, and
Yep.
anybody can go in there and try and swoop him up just to. I mean, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. I don't see any major injuries to where he would be picked up by somebody right now because everybody out west seems to be covered. I mean, the Cardinals, if they win their game and start getting a little bit of push, he might be a little bit of a pickup there. You
I
never
think
know.
The Cardinals are in desperate need of a running back. The
Kansas
Chiefs,
City.
the Kansas City. I think the Commanders. If Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt doesn't work out, I think they could
But
be
they
in.
love him. They crowned his ass.
Look,
But everybody loved
I
that
like
guy.
JCM, but we'll see how he ends up
Okay.
doing because you
How
got
about
to
this?
talk to.
How about Kamara going to Denver? Go back to Sean Payton. They got who do they got there? RJ Harvey's a rookie. I mean, is he going to be able to
J.K.
get you
Dobbins
for?
is leading the NFL in rushing, I think, right now.
Okay,
J.K.
let's go
Dobbins
to your
is up
six.
there. So for the sits, Rashid Shaheed, I've told you guys all year. Last year, whenever Derek Carr was there and they had that crazy 3-week span where they were the number one offense in the NFL, Rashid Shaheed had a ton of upside there. Rashid Shaheed just is not a guy that you're going to want to start anymore. I know he had a lot of hype after, this throughout the offseason. People were like, Rashid Shaheed, second round pick, early, no. Rashid Shaheed is not that. Okay. So he had his peak last year. He's never doing that again. Not to hate on the player. That's just not the type of profile you want in fantasy. And I don't know why Juwan Johnson keeps finding himself over here. He didn't have the best day last week. Obviously, he was versus the Bills. I do like the linebackers for the Giants a little bit. I just think it's going to be Chris Olave a lot. I think Kamara is going to get a lot of volume. And Juwan Johnson, I mean, he's probably got a decent day, maybe 4 or 5 catches, but I'm going to start a lot, probably 15, 16 other tight ends over Juwan Johnson this weekend. But that being said, he still has this decent floor where he will get 3 or 4 catches minimal. So he's an okay safe play, but he's a guy that I'm sitting because he doesn't have a ton of upside right now. And Kendre Miller, he's bait. I don't even know if I should talk about him a ton. He's bait. Stay away from him. He might get 4 carries this weekend. I would not be surprised whatsoever. Jalen Hyatt, I know these Darius Slayton and Jalen Hyatt. I just said Darius Slayton's really underrated. Both of these guys got like 9-10 point projections right now in PPR formats. Stay away from both of them. Jalen Hyatt hasn't caught a pass this year. Last year he had like two or three targets. I mean, he has done nothing throughout his
There's
NFL
something
career.
going on there. There's something going on there because everybody at Tennessee loved this dude. I mean, he lit Alabama up in that game 3 years ago when they scored 50-something points. So there's something going on with Jalen Hyatt where they're not giving him opportunities. I can't tell what it is. It's amazing to me because I thought he would be a little something, but I wouldn't even roster him. The only guy that you have missing on the start sits is I would start Olave just because of the volume
I'm
he's
iffy on
getting.
him. I'm very iffy on him. I kept him off of here because it's like I don't feel strongly enough to start him in my flex spot, and I think it's stupid to sit him because he's probably going to get 8 or 9 targets minimal, but those 9 targets could be 4 receptions for 32 yards, So it's like I'm staying away from him. I wouldn't have him. I don't have any shares of Chris Olave because the injury concerns, the quarterback situation. I didn't know if Rattler was going to be the guy because, he had more interceptions than touchdowns last year. So I was scared of the offense and, he's been decent, but yeah, I'm staying away from Olave for now, but I wouldn't feel bad if I had to start him. And then Darius Slayton's the same sort of way as Hyatt. I think Darius Slayton gets some catches, but I don't think he's going to meet 10 points. Yeah. Unless he gets just a random touchdown. And that's the 101 in fantasy. If you are banking on a touchdown to get this guy a decent fantasy day, do not start him. You need a guy that's getting consistent volume. Wan'Dale, I don't even know if Wan'Dale he does have a touchdown on the season, but every other week he's been fantasy relevant because he gets targets. His floor is very safe. Darius Slayton could have a 3-point day. Hyatt could have a nothing burger. Stay away from those guys. Upside, of course, but no, stay away from them. So
next.
All right, next up, A little bit of interesting matchup here. We've got the Dallas Cowboys going on the road playing the New York Jets. So they got to go a little bit of ways. But Dallas, in my opinion, they tied with y'all last week. I thought that y'all might go for the win because, a tie is kind of deflating for both teams. But at the end of the day, you have to play smart. So I understand going for the tie there, but Dallas minus 2.5 points. I think Dak, despite not, thriving in the stat sheet, he's been playing very good football. And the Jets, in my opinion, on offense have not been very great outside of some big time throws to Garrett Wilson here and there. Justin Fields he can't stay in the pocket. I mean, I watched him last week and I was just so irritated watching him play because he's just got to run around. He's got to run around. It's like, step up in the pocket and throw, man. Just play rhythm. He just can't do that. He's incapable of doing that right now. I got the Cowboys minus 2.5. I think they're going to give Justin Fields fits. If you can contain him, he is not a good quarterback whatsoever. Obviously, for fantasy purposes, great quarterback. But real life quarterback, thus far, I'm out on him.
Give me the Jets to win their first game here. Brees Hall is going to absolutely go to town on this team. I think last week, Dallas was really struggling in the first quarter, and then Devontae Wyatt got injured. And the second he got injured, that's when the Cowboys started racking up points. I know that sounds crazy, but when you're missing an inside presence like that, you can totally, adjust your game plan and start rolling. I mean, they did beat a Packers team or tied a Packers team. There's a little bit of a revenge spot there with all that shit they've had to hear about Micah Parsons and the trade and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But this here feels like a Jets' first win. I mean, they should have beat Tampa. They just couldn't close the door there. I think Sauce Gardner is going to shut down, George Pickens. I do, because they don't have CeeDee Lamb. The Cowboys do have a solid run game. They do have the better quarterback. But this feels like a spot where Justin Fields is going to go crazy on him. I think Brees Hall goes nuts on this team. I think Garrett Wilson, I don't think Trayvon Diggs is going to be able to keep on him. Deron Bland is hobbling around. I'm going to take the Jets to win 33-30 here. They're going to get their first home win, the first win of the season. I don't think the Jets fall 0-5. I think Dallas kind of comes back to earth. I mean, they had that resurgence last week, but I don't think we're going to hear, yeah, here we go, over and over into the win. I mean, the Jets are questionable, but they should have won that road game at Tampa. They haven't necessarily been blown out of the water. They've had some really close games, and I think that Aaron Glenn gets his first win over Schottenheimer. So give me the Jets.
So Brees Hall, not on my list because there's only 5 players I can start, and I am very confident in the 5 starts right now. I do think Brees Hall is a start, but just was my 6th player that I would start. So I do think this is a barn burner. I think both teams are going to be very successful on offense. Neither team has great defenses. I think the Jets have a solid defense with some solid pieces, and the Cowboys have just really struggled on defense. But offensively, both of these teams have been doing decent. Dak Prescott, like I said, high-end quarterback play this year. Hasn't been lighting it up on the stat sheet, but I think he will this weekend. I think he can have a very solid performance. I would start him. Javonte Williams has been playing phenomenal football, running through contact. He's like James Cook if he didn't have the breakaway speed. That's what Javonte Williams is for me. He's just really, really solid this year. And Javonte Williams is a guy that I'm really excited to watch play some more. So I'm starting him. George Pickens, I mean, he had a breakout game last weekend. He has just a big time drop every single week thus far. He's going to have to clean that up. But Pickens, he's a high-end talent. I could see him catching a 60-yard one-handed snag on Sauce, kind of what Emeka Egbuka did to Sauce a few weeks ago. So I like George Pickens here. I think he gets a touchdown at least this weekend. Justin Fields, not the best real-life quarterback, but fantasy purposes, you have to start him, especially versus the Dallas defense. And Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson had a slow first half last weekend. Very slow first half. And then they started to get it going with him. I think Garrett Wilson is going to have a phenomenal game. Like you said, Trayvon Diggs is just not going to have anything for him. Let's see. Who would you drop to get Brenton Strange or Jake Tungus? I got Jawan Johnson, Kittle, Hollywood, Chubb, Krosky, Merritt, Kenneth Gainwell.
I wouldn't drop any of those guys to pick up one of those tight ends. I mean, I might drop Hollywood out of that group or Chubb because I think that backfield goes to Woody Marks.
I'm definitely going Hollywood, dropping him. He just doesn't get the target volume anymore, especially with Worthy back. Already started Devontae. Yeah.
For a wide
on bye.
receiver
That's
too.
And he's got his Jacobs on bye. Chubb, Travion. I would start probably Travion and Krosky Merritt as your running backs right now. I don't know if Nick Chubb has the upside right now. I would go Travion and Krosky Merritt as my running backs. Wide receivers. I'd go Quentin Johnston as your wide receiver 2, and then Jordan Addison as my wide receiver 3. I think Jordan Addison could literally have 4 points, but he's always in line to catch like a 60-yard bomb. Oh, I did not see Debo there. Quentin Johnston and Debo are very much concrete starters for you. And then flex, I'd probably go Addison. Would you trade QJ for ETN? With your running back room, probably not. Because your wide receiver room is definitely not the best. So, no, I would keep QJ here. And
yeah, I would too.
Oh, yeah, no, you have JT too? Yeah. You have JT and Jacobs? Yeah, you're fine at running back. I wouldn't go after Travis Etienne. I love Travis. I keep thinking he's going to fall off, but he just keeps doing it. So he just keeps going. I mean,
thanks, Juan. Thanks for the question, Juan. I hope you subscribe.
Thanks so much, Juan. Yeah, so yeah, definitely go QJ, Debo, and Addison, and then go JT, Travion as your running backs here. So, all right, well, let's move on to the sits. So with Braylon Allen, he's likely out, and that sucks so bad because I had so many shares of Braylon Allen on my bench in my Dynasty leagues. He's on IR, but Aaron Glenn said he's going to be out 8 to 12 weeks. Man, it was a really tough knee scare. I thought he may have tore something with how that injury looked, but strain, probably a pretty bad strain. Might even be a partial tear. We don't know, but 8 to 12 weeks for Braylon, that sucks. That does open the door for Isaiah Davis, but I think Breece Hall is just going to get more volume. Isaiah Davis is like this change of pace guy that can catch the football here and there. I'm going to stay away from Isaiah Davis for now. He's got like a 9 or 10 point projection, staying away from him because I think Breece Hall is going to get an annoying amount of carries if you're starting Isaiah Davis. Mason Taylor, I am the number one Mason Taylor hater. I hated his film. He had a decent week last week. I'm staying away from him. His target volume is all over the place. Kavonte Turpin and Jalen Tolbert. One of these guys is supposed to step up while CD's out. No. That's not the case. Jake Ferguson and George Pickens are the guys that are the wide receivers, and Kavonte and Jalen Tolbert just haven't really been consistent options, even with CD out. I expect CD to be in the lineup next week. I think he will be starting and be fine next week. I don't think it's as bad as people think. So, neither one of these wide receivers I'm starting. You can hold Tolbert, I guess, but not going to be starting him anytime soon. And Jake Ferguson, I think he gets the target volume, but I think people are overhyping him just a tad. Now, I think if he is your best tight end meaning like your second tight end is like Dalton Schultz, Mason Taylor, Terrence Ferguson, those guys, start Jake Ferguson. But do not start, and I have him in here because of context. Jake Ferguson, you should not start over guys that were ahead of him preseason. So, I wouldn't start him over TJ Hawkinson. I wouldn't start him over Brock Bowers, even if he's on a snap count. Tyler Warren, those guys. I wouldn't start him over those guys. I do like him. I think he's going to get 8 to 12 points, but staying away from him for now.
Yeah, good stuff. I don't like any of those guys that you got on the bench, so not a one of them.
Not even Jake Ferguson, man. He's been cooking the past couple weeks.
Like you just said, you kind of laid it out. I mean,
Yeah,
I think they're going to go heavy on Pickens. So
why not? You know,
yeah,
you've got a big physical press cover corner in Sauce Gardner on him. I think Sauce Gardner, he is going to keep Pickens in check for a while, but then all of a sudden Pickens is just going to beat him off the line and he's going to moss him. I mean, Pickens is
yeah.
just that talented to where he's going to beat you eventually. Next up, we have, could have been the thumbnail, honestly. This is a really good matchup. The Broncos, they just abused the Bengals. I mean, abused them. I mean, it's Jake Browning. I mean, it's expected, but they're going to Philly, playing the Philadelphia Eagles. They have been kind of struggling on offense, right? AJ Brown he got involved 1 week and then since then has been very quiet. Despite Saquon not being super efficient running the football, they haven't been as dominant with run blocking this year. Philadelphia are still minus 3.5-point favorites. I'm going Philadelphia here. I don't really love what the Broncos have done on offense. Their defense is still fine, very solid defense. But I think the Eagles are really going to do smash mouth football here. And I think Saquon's going to have his first big game on the season versus the Broncos defense.
I don't think Philadelphia has done anything offensively to have any faith in them.
Yeah.
They should have lost Tampa Bay game. I'm not sold on the Eagles till I see it in the air. If I'm the Broncos, I like their matchup to try and get up front. I mean, the front line is banged up. For the offensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles is just struggling right now. Lane Johnson's
Really
hurt.
is.
So we're going to see if they're able to do it. I mean, if I'm the Broncos, I want to make Jalen Hurts throw the football. I think they're going to key in on Saquon. That kind of seems to be the MO to keep Philadelphia in check. They haven't blown anybody out of the water. They do get a short week, and Denver does have to travel. But I'm interested to see, because I think N'Kobe Dean or Nolan Smith, one of them's out. So if you just stay away from Jalen Carter, I think you got a chance defensively against the Eagles. Their secondary is not the best.
Yep.
I think this is a Marvin Mims, 100-yard deep reception. He gets a touchdown. That might be my touchdown prop is Marvin Mims.
Marvin Mims might not be on my start side. We'll go
I'm not saying he's the start. I'm not saying that. I got to clarify that. It's a betting prop. I think he might get one where he just cooks somebody's deep.
Yeah.
I like Troy Franklin. Cortland Sutton's a good, wide receiver. This is a team that I think will go in there. I think that they'll cover that half. I think that hook will be the difference. They might win the game outright. So I'll take the Broncos. I'll take the points here. Give me the 3 in the hook.
We got a lot of differing opinions this week. I like it. So to start sits. So I do want to say one thing. When you said you need to make Jalen Hurts throw the football,
yes,
that gave me flashbacks because what we did, the Kansas City Chiefs, we said Saquon he cannot run the ball. You're going to have to pass the ball. And for some reason, Jalen Hurts was like, okay, cool. I'll just be Steve Young. And he was Steve Young that night. So he obliterated us through the passing game. And we're a really good defense. So Jalen Hurts can do that. It's not very consistent, but he can definitely do that. But on to the starts and sits. I think Bo Nix, like you said, he's going to have a big day. I think the big bomb play isn't going to be the Marvin Mims, but to Cortland Sutton. So that's why Cortland Sutton's on this side. But Bo Nix, I think, is, he can have a 3-interception day. He is very reckless with the football from time to time. But this offense really takes care of him and kind of puts him in a lot of situations to succeed. So I think Bo Nix is going to have a good day. And to segue to that, the reason why I think this offense is set up to succeed is because of how they get going in the run game. J.K. Dobbins is, I believe, if I go to Sleeper and check real quick, I think right now J.K. Dobbins is coming off back-to-back 100-yard games. Let me see. J.K. Dobbins, no, he had back-to-back touchdown games, and this was his first 100-yard game, and he is averaging 5.6 yards a carry, and he's top 8 in the NFL in carries. So very efficient back until he gets hurt. Unfortunately, with J.K. Dobbins, he's always been really talented, but he always gets hurt. J.K. is a very dominant back. I would start him. If he's your RB1, I wouldn't feel bad about it at all. So starting J.K. Dobbins no matter what here. Cortland Sutton, he had a pretty solid day last week. I want to say 80 yards and a touchdown is what he did last week. Actually had the really funny, it was Sutton. One guy had Sutton going, and Deke, who you know pretty well, had Bo Nix on the other side. So he had like a 10% projection, 10% chance to win once he threw the touchdown to Sutton, and then he came out and threw a couple more touchdowns, and it was fine. But Cortland Sutton, I think he's still the number one option in this offense. Loved Pat Bryant. Pat Bryant hasn't done much this year. He hasn't gotten onto the field yet. So Cortland Sutton's still their wide receiver 1. Jalen Hurts, he's a no-brainer. QB1, he's going to get a rushing touchdown probably. So keeping just Jalen Hurts as my QB1, not feeling bad about it at all. And then Saquon. Saquon, if you look, he's the RB 12 or 11 right now on the year. He has a ton of volume, and he hasn't done much with it. He's a pure volume merchant right now, even though he's a great talent, great talent, and he has a lead upside any given week. He just doesn't have those 60, 70-yard touchdowns like he's had in years past. They've really been anchoring down on Saquon's not going to get to run the football, and they've been stacking the box against him, and the run blocking hasn't been as good this year. Still, he will get probably 20 to 25 carries this weekend, and that's what you need in fantasy. You need guys that are going to get volume. Regardless of whether they score 30 points or 20 points or 10 points, you want the guys that get volume because you get a higher chance of them popping off a big run. So Saquon, that's a guy that I'm starting every single week, and I'm not feeling bad about it at all. RJ Harvey on the sits list. I love RJ Harvey. I think he's a great explosive back with a lot of high-end traits. But if you look at the stat sheet, he had a touchdown, had really good efficiency yardage last week. All came in garbage time. It all came in garbage time. This game will probably not have a garbage time at any given chance. I think this is a very competitive football game. RJ Harvey's not going to get as many carries as he did or as many touches as he did last week. So he's a little bit of bait. I do like him as a long-term play. As soon as JK gets hurt, his value skyrockets. But right now, do not start him. Same thing with Mims. It's kind of weird. Mims was getting schemed open a decent amount last week. He was getting utilized, on end arounds, on quick slants, things like that. I just don't see the consistent volume with him. I love what he can do as an athlete. Super explosive, high-end upside. As soon as he gets down the field, he's gone. Mims, I hate the boomer bust wide receivers like Jameson Williams, those guys. I like Jameson Williams' speed, but it's just like he gets 3 or 4 targets a game, and you hope that one of them is a touchdown or he's doing nothing. So
that's what I'm calling for. I'm just saying,
that's what you have to do. That's what you have to have in order for Marvin Mims to do something.
I actually think that it might be like a shock to the Eagles too. I think that might happen like on the first drive. I'm serious. Like I'm just totally throwing that out there. I think that first drive, play action, Mims and the Eagles are in shock for a moment. Just tone setting.
I could absolutely see that too. He has the capabilities of doing that on any given play, but it's just really hit or miss. And I'd rather start a guy that's I know is going to get 8-7 targets, right? Versus a guy that could get 2. So next up, Evan Ingram. It's very surprising to me. I really liked the landing spot for Evan Ingram. I know he's coming off the injury. He's been a little banged up as he always is. But Ingram, I thought, was going to have a decent year in the Broncos, but he just hasn't been utilized, and he hasn't been getting a ton of volume. So sitting him for now, he's one of the guys I was kind of wrong about. So staying away from him, and I'm staying away from the Philadelphia Eagles wide receivers. At this point, it's like Goddard. It's Goddard, and that's it. He has the shovel pass on the end zone, right, for the touchdown. Devonta is getting, your 6-7 targets a game. AJ Brown gets maybe 3 or 4. It's just eventually Jalen Hurts is going to be like, okay, this guy is really talented. Just like a few weeks ago, they just started giving him contested catches, and AJ Brown got every one of them and had over 100 yards and a touchdown. It's just they don't target him anymore. They are trying to get the run game going way too much, and I think for Jalen Hurts, they're like a little hesitant to just let him air it out, right? Because he is limited as a passer.
I think that there's cracks in the foundation here at Philadelphia.
Yeah,
AJ Brown posted that little cryptic message about remaining silent when things aren't going his way or whatever it was. And wide receivers can absolutely be the most disruptive force in a locker room.
absolutely.
Juju Smith-Schuster doing his TikToks in Pittsburgh, Antonio Brown in Pittsburgh.
They were both there at the same time.
Just wide receivers can really, and he, to his credit, publicly has not done anything. He hasn't acted out. But
Yeah.
I think that when you're internally frustrated like this, one of two things is going to happen. I think this is a key game here. I think that A.J. Brown's either going to have 10 for 150 and 2, or he's going to have nothing and withdraw internally. I do. And I'm not saying that because I think he's a bad player, because he's clearly not. But I think that if you're begging for opportunity and want to win and you're making a lot of money and you're an absolutely fantastic football player,
Absolutely.
why isn't he getting the fucking ball? And that's the thing that I'm saying. I think that you can tune out. If you're a high performer, I'll say this from my own personal work. I worked at a job that was rent to own, all right? And I did collections. And I did collections so well that I was the best in the company of over 550 stores, the best in the company for a 4-month span, hands down the best. I was able to collect 95% of everything that was out there, which is unheard of in a rent to own business. And it came time to get a promotion for a store, and I got passed twice. And the second time that it happened, I checked out. It's not that I wasn't capable of doing it anymore. It just was the fact that I wasn't getting rewarded for doing the things that I need to do. I think that we can see.
Same thing with AJ.
Just that's what I'm saying. And it's not.
It could already be happening too. It could already be happening.
It's not an indictment on him. It's not. I got to be very clear about this. I think that that's a psychological thing that any human being would go through when you know that you've got the capacity and the capability to do these kinds of things, and you're not getting the opportunity, and they're deciding to do other things. You can kind of say, you know what, the hell with it, and call it a game. I'm not saying he'll do that. I'm not saying that he's got a poor mentality. I have to clarify that. Yeah. I'm just saying that there might be
a possibility.
And I think Sirianni's personality doesn't help.
Absolutely.
He's just an absolute shit show sometimes, and the Eagles keep winning, so nobody notices this stuff.
But you remember a few years ago, right? They were like 12 or 13-0. And then they lost a game, and then they fell apart. They lost every single game until the playoffs. They made the playoffs because they already were like 13-0. Then they lose their first playoff game as well. The team completely fell apart, and a lot of that fell on Sirianni, right? So this team battled adversity last year. Beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl pretty handedly. They crushed us, right? So this team has shown cracks in the past of just having that type of mentality, just folding over, as soon as, we are made the playoffs, whatever. That type of mentality is already there. It's already been there. So I hope AJ gets the ball because he's a phenomenal player, but this offense is just not set up right now to consistently target him. Hopefully they can get the pass game going because that would help me and my Saquon shares, right? Because if they run the ball every play, they're gonna hit him 2 yards carry like he's been doing. So I'm going to go ahead and get on to the next one. Hopefully AJ can get the ball, but we'll see. Next up, interesting matchup, right? Dolphins lose Tyreek Hill, but got their win, right? Tua looked decent last week. They're going on the road to play the Panthers, who have been literally up and down, right? They shut out the Falcons. That was 2 weeks ago. This past week they lost, correct? But Miami, despite losing Tyreek Hill, their wide receiver 1, they still have a pretty solid wide receiver 1 in Jalen Waddle, who I have a ton of shares of. So I'm happy about the Tyreek Hill injury in some ways, in a weird, messed up way. But Miami, 1.5 point favorites. And I like this. I think the Panthers, but I'm staying away from this line completely because the Panthers can shut them out, or they can get blown out 42-30. We have no idea. So I like the Dolphins team a little bit more, but the Panthers have just been all over the place with how successful they've been.
Well, Chuba Hubbard's out, so it's the Rico Dowdle show for the Panthers.
Really? I did not know that. I'm a fantasy guy. When did he get ruled out?
It was ruled out earlier today. You're slacking, Bobby. You're slacking. I'm just kidding. But yeah, he's ruled
He's
out.
ruled
So,
out. I don't have any shares of him, so I guess that's why I don't know.
but we see two former Crimson Tide legends here going head to head at the quarterback position.
Yep.
Both of them been national champs. Only one's won a Heisman, but Miami's got the better supporting cast here. Without Hubbard there, and if you're going to count on Rico Dowdle to run the ball, I mean, it's Ted McMillan, and then without Jalen Coker, and I haven't seen it from Xavier Legette.
Is Coker not playing?
I don't think he's back from IR yet. He's just got the practice window open.
Okay.
So we're going to see Tua. We're going to see Achane's healthy. Waddle's healthy. And how about Darren Waller last week getting 2 touchdowns? I'm going to say this. The Dolphins' defense stinks, and I think that either team can win this football game, and you don't want to be the neutral guy and not pick a side. But I'm going to lean that the Dolphins are relieved that Tyreek Hill is out of there. I think they're relieved with this shit. They don't want him to be injured, but he's not going to be at the facility. The dude's smiling that he's injured, smiling in the ambulance, smiling on a stretcher, smiling in the hospital bed. I don't think he could wait to get out of there fast enough. And I think with that, Mike McDaniel can refocus this team. And I think that Bryce Young, though, is got a little more pressure on him. I'm going to take the Panthers in a slight upset here at home. Again, I've said it the past few predictions here that this comes down to the very end.
Yeah.
Rico Dowdle's serviceable. I mean, Chuba Hubbard's not exactly 10 times better than he is. But I think defensively, I don't think anybody can guard Tet. And I think the Panthers would do okay with the running game. Their defense isn't atrocious. I mean, they didn't let Bijan Robinson get in the end zone. So if you can do that, just don't let HN have any explosive plays. Give me the Panthers in the upset here.
Okay.
And I'll take it to be a crazy game. I'm going to take it to be like 35-32 or 35-31.
I think so as well. I 100% agree.
Jump on the over. Whatever the over is on that, get on it because I think is your winning play.
I made this Monday. I thought Chuba Hubbard was playing. Guess he's not playing. So give me Rico Dowdle where Chuba Hubbard is. I think Rico Dowdle, I agree with you. I think he's a pretty solid player. 1,000-yard back last week. Nobody not last week, last year with the Cowboys, he was 1,000-yard back. And didn't really have a ton of volume either. So, Bryce Young, definitely think he's a start. I don't like the Dolphins defense. And he's been he has been hit or miss, but last week he had a decent showing. So like Bryce Young here, like Rico Dowdle, not Chuba Hubbard here. Rico Dowdle, I think that they can have a good performance on the ground. And Tet McMillan, fun fact, one of my subscribers, they wanted a Tet McMillan breakdown since I just did a breakdown on Emeka Egbuka. And I've just watched every single snap from Tet McMillan today. And I have a lot of takeaways from that. I like Tet McMillan. I think he's going to have a pretty solid game against the Dolphins. Jalen Waddle, he is the biggest riser from all of these like wide receiver twos because of the Tyreek Hill injury. I think Waddle has a ton of upside with the speed, the overall get off the line. I think Waddle, as long as he can stay healthy, it feels like every other game he's exiting the game early or whatever the case may be. Hopefully that gets under control, doesn't get any more concussions or any, minor injuries. If he can do that, he's going to be a problem, I think. And Devon Achane. Not big on Devon Achane as a runner. Not completely. I'm not sold on it, but last week he looked really good. So Achane, I think, is a start. He's going to get minimum 5-6 catches every single week. So if you're in a PPR format, he is, a top 5 back for you. So like Achane, but I think he's going to be limited a little bit in the running game because of Ollie Gordon, but we'll talk about him in a moment. I do think Tua, I don't know if he's a start for me. I think I would start Bryce Young over him. I wouldn't hate to start Tua here, but he's just been very inconsistent so far this year. I like some of what I see. Like the past 2 weeks have been fine, but the weeks before that weren't really fine. So and he's always at risk of just getting hurt. So he always scares me, and I'm staying away from him for now. But if he was my QB2, I wouldn't hate it. Malik Washington, he had a few catches last week. He's the guy that is moving up the most because of the Tyreek Hill injury. I'm staying away from him. I like him as a talent. Did great things in college. I'm staying away from him for now. Ollie Gordon. I think Ollie Gordon can get 10, 12 carries against the Panthers, especially if they end up getting ahead. But he's just very limited. I mean, he has to get a touchdown in order to be relevant, I think, here. So stay away from those types of guys. Leggett, watched a lot of his film. Kind of underwhelmed with what I'm seeing on film. Can't get open. Sometimes he's just giving up on plays. I need to see more from him. He's kind of underwhelmed me. I'm staying away from him. He doesn't get a ton of targets either. JT Sanders, he's a guy that 2 weeks ago had a ton of hype. Stay away from him. He's probably bait.
Yeah, it's a good list there. I think Tua is startable, but I mean, if you got a better option, you should go with it.
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
hard for me to say that as an Alabama fan who absolutely thought Tua was one of the best. I mean, that pinpoint accuracy was just crazy.
Yeah. Now, one thing I did see today, I didn't see the Chuba Hubbard got ruled out, but I did see Lamar Jackson got ruled out for this game. So the Texans going on the road to Baltimore, playing the Ravens. Houston minus 1.5 point favorites, and I think that line is probably swelled by now to 2 or 3 points now. I probably take the this is just a really bad line for me because the Texans really aren't that great on either side of the ball. The Ravens have been really good offensively at times, and then other times not so great, and their defense is atrocious despite having a lot of really high-end talented guys. I think I'd go the Texans here with Cooper Rush at quarterback. He looked really bad when he was playing in the preseason. I think I go the Texans here. They're way more healthy. They at least had some good offensive performances the past couple of weeks. I'm going to go with the Texans here.
I like that play as well. I mean, you're going to see Derrick Henry get 7,000 carries in this game. I don't think Cooper Rush, I mean, they've been kind of ignoring Zay Flowers, and Rashad Bateman's actually kind of had a better season, but with Lamar out, you can absolutely just try and stack the box and make Cooper Rush throw the football. Houston is pretty healthy. Their offensive line is just the shits, but I'm going to take CJ Stroud here to hit Nico Collins because the Ravens' defense is awful, y'all.
Yeah,
it's
not so surprising because they have so many high-end players on that defense.
But they just aren't getting it done up front.
Yeah,
I mean, you've got a two-headed monster with Woody Marks and Nick Chubb here. I think that fares better for them. I think that, like I said, Nico's going to get in the end zone. And I think CJ Stroud, man, there's a screw loose with that guy. Did you hear what he said 2 days ago?
I did not.
He said, I'm 24 or 23 years old. I was looking back at some of my high school highlights, and I just feel like I'm old and I've lost a step. Like, what? Either your offensive line has allowed you to get beat in the head so much that you're going to have the preliminary concussion stay and stuff like that. It was just kind of a wild thing for him to say. But I do think that the Texans do pull this off. I think that the Ravens are going to miss the playoffs at this point.
I mean, they're 1-3 right now. I mean, they've been competitive.
1-3.
The Chiefs did just get destroyed.
Derrick Henry has fumbled twice late in the game, which is not normally what he does. But without Lamar Jackson, they take a big step back. I think the line could even be 3 here.
Yeah,
I'll take the Texans to cover. I think that they win. I think the Ravens are in a bit of a free fall. But sometimes when good teams have a rough season like this, they can kind of do some introspection in the offseason and address things. I don't know what their contract situations are, but they can, go out and get playmakers, definitely get some defensive pass rush. I mean, they did draft that kid from Marshall.
Out for the season, I think. And then Mike Green's been solid when he plays, but he's a rotational guy as of right now. And Matt Adikwe was a huge loss at D tackle. I mean, he offers a ton of inside pressure. He's out for a substantial amount of time this year, if not the whole season. So that sucks for them. But I mean, they got Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphreys,
Kyle Hamilton just practiced today.
So they have a ton of guys.
But he's banged up. I think Houston might have themselves a game here.
Yeah,
I do.
Well, let's go ahead. I think I've updated this. Yeah, I have updated this one. Cooper Rush, he's on there. I completely agree with, I think, everything that you said. CJ Stroud, I think he's going to be startable versus this horrible defense. He's not been the greatest. He's coming off his best fantasy point game last week. So, he's kind of like Trevor Lawrence in a way, to where it's like it's very rare for him to throw 3 touchdowns in a game, which, Trevor Lawrence, when he does it, he has to throw 2 picks with that. CJ Stroud, he's going to have to figure out the O-line situation. Hopefully they can get the quick pass game going. I expected them to utilize their wide receivers that they took second and third round a little bit more. Didn't love Higgins as a pick. I loved Noel, but Noel hasn't gotten involved just yet because of Christian Kirk. But like Stroud and his weapons, Nico Collins is a game breaker if he's healthy, and thus far he's been pretty healthy. It's just he hasn't been super consistent, but I just still think he can get in the end zone and get a couple of big catches like he always does. And then Woody Marks. Look, I did some deep dives into some Woody Marks film as well. He was a top 10 back for me pre-draft. He was a top 10 back. He was a former Mississippi State Bulldog, transfers to USC, and of course has his best season at USC, ends up being a 4th-round pick to the Texans. Great, versatile player where he can catch the ball at the backfield a ton. Great change of pace guy. I don't think he's a big-time volume guy by no means, but I do think he gets enough catches to where he can be relevant as a flex play. And then, like you said, Derrick Henry is going to have a ton of rushing volume this game, and as long as he doesn't fumble, I think, even Justice Hill could be a flex play here. I think Keaton Mitchell could get some carries. So I think this game's going to be heavily reliant on the rushing attack. And Mark Andrews, I think he's going to be Cooper Rush's safety net. I think he gets a decent amount of targets as well. And then for the sits, Cooper Rush, not a guy I feel comfortable starting, especially with the offense, the way it's been running the past few weeks. Zay Flowers, DeAndre Hopkins, I don't think these guys are going to get a ton of volume from Cooper Rush. I think they let Cooper Rush throw 25 times. I think that's probably the max that he's going to be able to throw. And that means Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, Keaton Mitchell, those guys are going to get a ton of reps. Nick Chubb, unfortunately, hasn't been super efficient with his carries. They've been limiting his snaps week after week more and more and more. So with Nick Chubb, it looks like Joe Mixon's going to miss the majority of the season with that foot injury that's been hurting him all last year as well. So Nick Chubb and Woody are the guys that are going to be the guys for now. I think Nick Chubb maybe gets 13, 12 carries. And then Dalton Schultz, stay away from him. He's just not a tight end that you're going to want on your team right now. He's probably even a waiver wire pickup at this point. So staying away from him as well.
Yeah, comment Ravens are in a downfall right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're
I like your start sit list here.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry's got to hold on to that football. He knows better.
Yeah, and you saw what they were doing last week, right, versus the Chiefs, where they were hitting, doing drills. I mean, Derrick Henry's very serious about getting better. He works out really hard, always does drills. But now, one of my favorite parts of the show, we get to go over some cut. Social betting platform, peer-to-peer betting. If you guys are in a state that it's illegal for you to sports bet like me in Mississippi, Cut is a really good platform to just go on there and you can get any odds that you want. You can bet on anything, not just football related. You can do hockey, politics, whatever you want, right? You can make your custom odds and stuff. So, yeah.
Today on Cut's official Twitter, they put out a post saying that you could bet how many years Diddy was going to prison for.
Yeah. I mean, you can bet on literally anything. So
you got 4 for those who care.
Yeah.
So with Cut, we got 2 stories about Cut. Bobby's got a story, but I'm going to tell mine real quick because Bobby and I had a little wager that we placed on the LSU Ole Miss game last week.
Yep. You got
me. I
I
took some of Bobby's big board dollars. Thank you, Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, man. That offense.
Well, you told him already with the 49ers.
Yeah, man. So you can go on there. I mean, there was like the game was just about to start, the Thursday night game, and I was like, let me just see because I had some left over from when I deposited, and I was like, okay, let me see if there's any bets available. There's like 95 public bets available. Any over under on the points. any money line that you wanted. Everybody was betting certain things. And if there's not a certain amount of, there are specific amounts of money that you can bet. They set the bet odds, but or the amount that you can bet. You can make your own bet and somebody can do it for you. And you can bet your friends, all that. So I really like Cut as a platform, very versatile. Definitely use Cover 2 Cash and sign up.
Yes, and I will say this: if it wasn't for Cut sponsoring us last week, we were able to have Steven Garcia, former Gamecock quarterback, on there. He is friends with the owner of Cut. Cut is an American-based company. It is not offshore betting. It is South Carolina.
Yeah.
So you'll be helping our SEC country folks. Please use the code Cover2Cash. Sign up, $25. You get a nice little sign-up deposit bonus. There's college football on right now. My free play is about to start. You can get in on it. San Jose State -2 or 2.5, whatever it was. Jump on it. Get on Cut. Subscribe to Cut. Subscribe to this channel. We've got 35 viewers. I want to personally thank you guys for two. You know what? I noticed the last 2 weeks our viewership was down for having it on Thursday, but we had circumstances out of our control. So I want to say thank you guys for spending your Friday nights with us. And feel free to leave comments about any of this stuff. Any questions about bets? Any questions about, hey, what do you think about anything? First-time touchdown scores, any of that stuff. We want to interact with you guys. We absolutely love doing that. But let's get on this game. And by the way, I live in the Arizona area, for those of you that don't know, and tickets to this game are $23. I thought about going, but I was like, nah, I don't want to see Cam Ward get annihilated again. I mean, it was just bad.
Yeah, but I mean, there's not much spark to this offense for the Titans. They just don't have the weapons. They don't really have the offensive line. The rushing game has been mid. So it's like there's a lot of holes, especially defensively. They're not great. And the Cardinals, man, they've been looking up a little bit. So Cardinals, they're -7.5 point favorites at home. I think you should definitely go. I think you should definitely get some tickets because I'm sure it's not sold out. I think this would be a cool game to go to. You get to watch Cam Ward in person throw the football, even though, obviously he's not doing too great right now. I expected that, but it's not completely on Cam Ward. I like the Cardinals to cover here. I don't like any of what the Titans are doing offensively. I don't like the coach for the Titans, in my opinion. I think he's not a great coach. And I don't like the way that he handles the press or
why not? It's entertaining.
It's entertaining, but it's like, and he also throws players under the bus. I mean, he did it to Will Levis all the time last year. So it's just like, I just don't like the way he coaches. His offensive play calls aren't the best either. Just like, I mean, the best play on the season for the Titans was a play where the play broke down and Cam Ward just throws it across his body across the field to Elick Airman. It's just like, nothing that he's done on offense in terms of play calls has excited me one bit. So going with the Cardinals here.
Well, I think that this game is an absolute tell. Cardinals are 2-2. They should have beat the 49ers.
Yeah.
And they realistically, they played terrible last Thursday, but came back at the end and just couldn't finish the job. I think this is a get-right spot. I don't know if they cover the 7.5. But I think that everything for the rest of the season for the Arizona Cardinals is contingent on this football game. I know that sounds insane to say in week 5, but you started off 2-0 and you've lost 2 very close, tough games. So there's going to be some grace there. But Arizona fans, I think that they're 50-50 on Kyler Murray, but he hasn't appeared to be the problem for this football team this season.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, they're in the middle of that long contract with him. I think that the Cardinals win this game. I think that oh man, that 7.5 is really a hard spot for me to take.
It's a perfect
just because it's, you know what it is? It's just because the Cardinals struggled against Seattle. But I think that they come out, the more I think about it a little bit, I think they come out guns a-blazing here. Marvin Harrison broke out a little bit last week. They're on the extra rest. They're at home. Maybe I'll have to lay the points here. I'll take the Cardinals to lay the points here.
There we go. Look, we're getting you somewhere. Look,
I had to think about it a little bit here.
I mean, the wheels turning.
But, they do have Michael Carter who's going to be running the football because Benson's out.
And Amari DiMercato. DiMercato scored a touchdown last week.
But those guys aren't on the level of Benson and James Conner.
Fair enough.
So I think the Titans are going to try and make them run the football, so they might be double covering Marvin.
Yeah.
But Michael Wilson's a good enough player, and Trey McBride, I think, might have a touchdown.
I
So I
hope
think
so.
I think the Cardinals cover 7.5 here. Looking at it a little bit deeper, just because the Titans are in disarray, and quite frankly, they might leave Callahan at Sky Harbor Airport. He might not even make it back to Nashville.
I think Callahan needs to get out of there as well. I think there's better hires out there. So, starts and sits. There's very few Titans that I'm going to start this week, but we'll start with the Cardinals. Kyler Murray, I think he's a great start. With the rushing upside, I think he can have a big game, a big 20-point plus game versus the Titans. It is the Titans after all. Marvin Harrison Jr., like you said, broke out last week, had 60 yards and a touchdown, didn't have the best first half, but, had a big catch. I think they just need to start calling his number more. I know the drops were an issue. I think he's going to start cleaning it up. He knows what caliber he is as a player. He's not letting any of that noise get into him. I think he's going to clean it up, and I think he's going to be a great wide receiver down the stretch. Trey McBride, this dude's, I think, leads all tight ends in catches right now. Definitely leads them in targets. He just gets target. If you're in a tight end premium league, he's my tight end one right now, ahead of Brock Bowers, just because of the injuries right now. So definitely think he's a no-brainer start. Tony Pollard, I think that they really try to get the run game going with him. And, he's going to have like 8 to 10 points probably with the catches and stuff. But if he gets a touchdown, then he's get, 16, 17-point game. So like Pollard, he's been getting the volume. So I like the running backs that get the volumes, even if they don't have the best matchup. Then Manor. I think Manor is going to get enough targets to where he's somewhat relevant. He does need a touchdown to be super relevant, but I think Manor can get 5-6 catches for 60 yards and hopefully a touchdown. Not quite sure how the touchdowns are going to go. I think they'll either go to Tony Pollard or Manor. Fun fact, all of Cam Ward's touchdowns are to Manor. So, fun fact there. Sit. Cam Ward, unfortunately, I like the talent. He needs to develop more. He needs to get some more weapons and a better offensive play caller. I'm just going to say it. Had a tough few games. He's going to continue to have some tough games. He's not going to have a great rookie year, I don't think. But he's a good stash right now in Dynasty. Should not be rostered in one QB leagues at all. Calvin Ridley, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with him. Last year, he was phenomenal with terrible quarterback play. This year, he's had better quarterback play, way more targets, way less volume. Way less production. He's had drop issues. He's had all sorts of it. He just doesn't look like the same Ridley from last year. Now, I know he's 30. He's on the wrong side of 30, actually. I don't, at this point, I got to stay away from him. He was one of my value plays in Dynasty. If you guys were contending, I said, hey, go buy this guy for a second or a third. Thus far, he's proven me wrong, unfortunately. So, need him to start figuring it out. He knows he's a good player. He knows he's a great talent, but he's going to have to figure it out. Chigakonkwo, I like him as an athletic tight end, but he's just not getting the volume. He's not staying consistent. Michael Wilson as the wide receiver 2, stay away from him. D. Mercado and Michael Carter, stay away from both of those guys. Like you said, the talent level is not necessarily there, and I think either one of these guys are irrelevant unless they score a touchdown.
Yeah, it's a pretty good sit list there. Just a disaster piece in Nashville. Yeah. But I think they're going to bring in a new coach next year. I wonder who they have in mind. But, the NFL had there was another, it was a big news day. Hamas has given up the hostages. Diddy's going to prison. And the third one was John Gruden won his the NFL. The court said the NFL cannot throw this out, and it won't go to arbitration because of what happened to him. So I think John Gruden's going to get paid, and it would be amazing if he was the next coach of the Tennessee Titans.
I know some of the things that he said in the past, the whole email thing, whatever. I know he said that he got set up, which could have happened. But, for me, John Gruden as a person is awesome. He's awesome. He loves football more than any person probably on the planet. He loves his players. He will always love his players. And you just hear him talk about football and you hear him talk about the players. He's always he's always super positive about the players, even when they're doing bad. I think he's a phenomenal coach. You can't make it to a Super Bowl without being a phenomenal coach. I would really love to see him as a head coach somewhere soon because that just makes football better. Now, that will mean that the content from him, I don't know. Look, I don't shout out people, but John Gruden's content that he posts on his YouTube channel is like grade A football content. He goes
He
over.
won't do that stuff if he's
He
working.
won't do that if he's a.
No.
That's the only downside. He won't be putting out content anymore if he's a head coach. So it's like part of me doesn't want him to be a head coach because I lose out on that.
But another team that, or another idea for the Titans is, why don't you try to go after Mike McCarthy? I mean, the guy wins. He wins in Green Bay. He won in Dallas. I mean, they ran him out of there with 12-win seasons. I mean, they would have to have some draft capital for sure to try and build this disaster. But I think immediately it gives credibility to Cam Ward. I mean, because Mike McCarthy's coached Aaron Rodgers and he's coached
Dak Prescott
to near MVP level with Dak Prescott. Yeah. So, and he's a Super Bowl winner and he wins football games. I mean, why not call him? There's no reason for him to not be coaching. The way he was treated in Dallas, they deserve to have a lousy season because of it, in my opinion. Like, that was spoiled rotten. I mean, I know they have the playoff jokes and stuff like that, but there are teams that would kill to get in the playoffs right now.
Absolutely. The Titans are one of those people. The Titans are one of those teams that would love to make it to the playoffs. I like the Vikings defensive coordinator to get a job probably soon. Yeah, Brian Flores. He was a former coach, with the Dolphins. I think he was the head coach of the Dolphins 3-4 years ago, 5 years ago at this point. No, he had the tanking.
But he's also got a suit against the NFL. So I don't think anybody's going to touch him for a minute. I think he's got that discrimination lawsuit against the NFL. That may not have as much weight as what Gruden had. Yeah. But nonetheless, let's go on to our next game here.
So, Buccaneers going on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. Interestingly enough, I know Mike Evans is out. Godwin's, dealing with his stuff. But I like the Buccaneers roster way more. I know Bucky Irving's probably not going to play, so you got Rashad White and Sean Tucker. I still like the Buccaneers roster more than the Seahawks. I think, yes, you have to go on the road. You got to go all the way across the country to Seattle. I still like the Buccaneers, man. I don't think home field advantage should tilt it that much. I like the Buccaneers plus 3.5 here, I think. I'm super high on the Buccaneers, though. I have them as like NFC championship contenders. So,
well, I'm a big fan of Baker Mayfield.
Who isn't? What person would not be cool with Baker Mayfield?
It's ridiculous. He's like, you know what he is? He's everything that you wanted Johnny Manziel to be.
Absolutely.
That's it. It's the attitude, but with the winning and with the talent and with that spark. But I don't think that they cover in this game. I think Seattle's got it in check. Sam Darnold has shown that it wasn't just a system in Minnesota. Impressive win for them. They've got Walker in there. They've got Charbonnet in there. I mean, they've got all their receivers are healthy with JSN. The Buccaneers are banged up. That's why, plus you're playing in Seattle. I thought this line would be more along the lines of 6. So when there's something that goes 3 points or more, around 3 points less than what I anticipated it to be, I'm going to jump all over it. I think the Seahawks do win this game by a touchdown. I mean, the Buccaneers' offensive line is just banged up. Yeah, and defensively, Vita Vea is starting to slow down a little bit. I just think that they can, I think JSN has himself a game. I think that the Seahawks are going to be running the ball all day long. And I think that, we're talking about trades here. So in my main Dynasty league prior to the season, I traded Jamar Chase for 3 firsts and Egbuka. Okay.
That worked out really well.
Then the guy that I made this trade to had Malik Neighbors. And I texted you on this.
Mm-hmm.
And I just acquired, I'm not contending for those that care. I got Bryce Young and Malik Neighbors for Egbuka. And I think that this was a matter of pure strategy of me selling high. Yeah. I don't know if Egbuka is going to be able to maintain this. And I'm always, when they're rookies and they're balling out crazy like this, are they going to be able to sustain it? And we're going to see here a little bit if they are, because when Godwin came back last week, he immediately started eating his shares.
He had like 9 targets. I mean, he
I'm
only
going
had
to
like
take,
1 catch or something, but like he had
yep.
a ton of targets.
I think you're going to see Egbuka come crashing down a little bit. But like I said, I take the Seahawks here. If I got Egbuka, I'm selling him for
Yeah,
what I can
you
get.
don't. I'll go off on a slight tangent here. I do think Igbuka's a start. I mean, he's going to
Yeah.
have to prove me otherwise. But I
Yeah.
did watch the film, and while I do think he's a really smart player, I think he's got really reliable hands, some solid route running. He underwhelms me. I'm not going to lie. I think
Yep.
Baker Mayfield really, really helps out his receivers. I mean, emphasis on really. Chris
Yeah.
Godwin last year was the wide receiver 1 when he got hurt overall. He was like, I think week 6, he was the wide receiver 1 through those weeks. Who was throwing him the football? Baker Mayfield.
All right, the
If
Tigers.
Chris Godwin was 23, 24 years old like Igbuka is right now, and he was playing like that, people would be saying the same thing about Chris Godwin that Emeka Igbuka is getting right now. I like Igbuka. I think he's a solid player, but he offers zero yak ability, like zero. I don't want to hate on him because he's been great, but he has zero yak ability. He's not particularly explosive. I know he ran a good 40 time. He's not explosive on the field at all. He's not as explosive as you'd want him to be. Like Marvin Harrison Jr., way more explosive on the football field than Emeka Igbuka. Like, it's not close. Igbuka is a product of Baker Mayfield in this offense. I think you are correct. I think he's going to slow down at some point this year, especially when Mike Evans and Chris Godwin come back. And when that happens, you'll be able to buy cheaper at the end of the season. Now, saying all that, I do think both of these receivers are going to get some work. So definitely, yes. I love the play because guess what? Regardless of whether I think they're a phenomenal player or not, they have one of the best quarterbacks in the game throwing footballs like Baker Mayfield throws like Dan Marino, man. He's just throwing crazy throws, like just fitting it into tight windows. I love the way Baker Mayfield plays football, and he's literally making all of the ceilings for all of his receivers go this much higher. So love the receivers. Sam Darnold, I didn't know if he would play that great outside of the system because we've seen quarterbacks from the Minnesota Vikings go elsewhere and struggle really badly. Sam Darnold, I'm so happy because he had a really bad start in Carolina. The New York Jets, they kind of made him a backup. And then Darnold finally gets his thing going. I'm really proud of him. I'm glad that he's doing well, and he's got a really high-end stud that he gets to throw to a ton, and that's Jackson Smith-Njigba. People were saying he was a bust his rookie season. He was really underwhelming his rookie season, and people were calling him a bust. Yes, absolutely. They said that.
They say it after 3 games. Like, people, all right, I'm going to go on.
They said Marvin Harrison Jr. was a bust.
Stop it. You've got to stop calling people a bust halfway through their rookie season.
Yeah.
You don't know ball. You need to watch this channel and learn how to understand what football is. If you're saying, he's a bust, he's a rookie, he's a bust.
He didn't have 1,000 yards as a rookie.
I can't stand it. The second somebody tells me some dumb shit like that, I immediately tune them out because they're regurgitating only little things that they see, and they don't have any nuance when it comes to watching football. So you're just a dumbass. You are a dumbass.
Jackson Smith-Njigba,
be a dumbass.
I knew the moment he got drafted, I was like, he's going to have a slow season because of who they had at quarterback. Geno Smith at the time was the quarterback, wasn't particularly great, and DK Metcalf was already there, and they were trying to force feed DK the ball. Tyler Lockett was still there at the time. Jackson Smith-Njigba, they brought in Cooper Kupp. People were worried, where's Jackson Smith-Njigba going to play? Is he going to play in the slot? Because they just brought in a slot guy in Cooper Kupp. Well, the answer was JSN's going to play the Z, and JSN's just really good at playing the Z. I mean, he's a phenomenal wide receiver. He's up, I think, top 5 in fantasy right now. He is just cooking, and there's a reason he was a first-round pick. He went to the Ohio State and dominated at Ohio State for a reason. He's got some durability concerns in college, but thus far hasn't hurt him that much. Love JSN. He's an absolute start for me. Seems like every time the Seahawks are on, I'll look down at my phone sleeper notification. JSN just got caught a 35-yard pass. His yak ability is insane. I mean, he can catch a 5-yard hitch and take it for 30 yards every single time. So love Jackson Smith and Jigba. For the sits, Rachaad White is not somebody that I'd start even if Bucky Irving's out. He runs hot every now and then, but I mean, in 2023, he was the lead back for them, and he had I want to say 3.2 yards a carry. I mean,
he had 70 catches. He had 70 grabs, and that's the thing. I mean, I'll let you finish your sits, but I'm pushing back on him.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I think Sean Tucker can eat into the carries a little bit more, and I think Rachaad White's going to be more of the, third down guy that can get the passing down work. With the amount of receivers that they have now, I think it really caps the amount of footballs that he's going to catch. So as a runner, he's very limited, and I think he's limited in the passing game as well because of the receivers that are there. And Cade Otton, somebody offered me, because I'm in one of the leagues where we start 2 tight ends and it's 0.75 tight end premium. So tight ends are very valuable.
Yeah.
I said, and I don't have a third tight end right now. So I'm starting Tucker Kraft as my tight end 2, and the Packers are on bye. So obviously not great. So I said, hey, I need a tight end. Somebody says, I'll give you Cade Otton for Trey Benson. And I was like, no. Go away, because Cade Otton is that zero. He's literally a zero pretty much every single week. He may get 2 or 3 catches. The only reason he has any semblance of value is because last year Mike Evans and Chris Godwin were out, and he was the only guy. It was him, I think Sterling Shepard last year, that were catching footballs. And Cade Otton had a couple of really big games, 6 for 60 and a touchdown was a big game for him. He is not the guy you want to start. Do not start him unless you literally have I get it. They say he's a huge sleeper. He's had one big game in 2 years. I'm staying away from him.
Well, that's why he's a huge sleeper. You take that big risk.
And then staying away from Cooper Kupp. He had one big game in week 2, I believe, for 95 yards. He's just not consistent. He just hasn't been getting consistent volume. This guy really fell off a cliff due to injuries in 2021. I mean, Triple Crown winner, one of the best fantasy seasons from a wide receiver ever. And since then, just hamstring issue, over and over and over again, and just hasn't able to really recover. He had a couple of big games for the Rams last year, but since then just hasn't really done much, unfortunately. I think he's pretty much zapped. And the running back rooms, I know people are going to push back from Kenneth Walker a little bit. That's fine. I do think Kenneth Walker is a decent running back, and he has the chance to blow up at any given time for a big-time run. I think he's a very super talented back. But this running back room, the outside zone scheme that they run, I'm just not a big fan of. And Zach Charbonnet doesn't look like he might play. If he does play, he's going to be very limited in when he plays. So going to stay away from the running back room. Maybe Kenneth Walker comes back to bite me, but I think Kenneth Walker, for me, I just don't have any shares of him, thankfully. I'm staying away from him.
I think you could start Rachaad White. I don't think he's going to be a third down back. He's going to be the lead back with this injury to Bucky Irving. Good opportunity for him. I mean, he's shown that when he was getting carries in that come-from-behind game for the Buccaneers a couple weeks ago, that he can really turn it up. I'm not the biggest Rachaad White fan. I got to say that, but there's absolute ability there with opportunity, and I think that you're gonna get 15, 20 carries with him. He might get 100 yards, and I think he gets a touchdown. Absolute star for me. We disagree on that one big time. And I know that he had a big season.
He is a solid.
Hold on, I know he had that big season with Dave Canales in that offense when they, that's what he does. He loves to throw to that running back, but his receiving upside might keep him in there for 3 downs. He might be in a 3-down back roll just in this game, and Sean Tucker might spell him here and there. I really think that they're going to go heavy on him because of the injuries, to Mike Evans and things along that sort, and the lack of the tight end game. So I think Rachaad White's going to have we'll come back to that one next week, because I think that he might be one of the top. I think he might have a top 5 week.
Really?
I'm going to really put it out there.
We'll definitely have to look at that for sure. I hope for the best. I love underdog stories. So next up, teams on what's up?
Hold on one more second. We have 40 viewers. Thank you guys for tuning in. It started out with like 10 or 12. We were 3 times that at 40 viewers. I know that some of my friends are watching. I appreciate you guys. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to Bobby's YouTube channel. Bobby puts out these breakdowns with film. He gets film from God knows where. Tells you why he picks these players, why he does the starts and says he puts that list together. I'm gonna have to clarify that. I'm the betting guy. He's the fantasy guy. This merges really well because we both love football. We love
Absolutely.
our listeners. We love our viewers. Feel free to interact with us in the chat. So I just wanted to give a shout out. Big thank you to you guys.
Yeah,
And let's
absolutely.
talk about this fun one. This is going to be a fun one here.
Two teams on completely opposite ends of the spectrum right now. The Bengals are sky falling. You know, they started off 2-0, and now they are just getting schooled by everybody that they play. The Lions are just destroying everybody that they play right now. Very explosive offense right now. Detroit are minus 10.5-point favorites. You know, I've made plays in the past where it's like if I see a 10.5-point or more line, I'm always going with the underdog unless it's the Jake Browning Bengals. I'm going to go with Detroit to cover here. I think that they can beat them by 15, 20 points, man. I think that they could just destroy them with how they played last week. I don't even know. You might want to get Ripien in there, man. Brett Ripien might be the guy for a second because Browning just does not look like he's the guy right now.
So I think a couple things here. First of all, the Bengals should go get Kirk Cousins to salvage this.
Or Jameis.
I would go get Kirk. You want somebody who's got experience throwing to elite receivers, can run an offense. He's recovered from that heel injury. He admitted that it slowed him down last year. Now he's fully healthy. I don't know if the Bengals can take on that salary for the year, but I think the Falcons would be willing to eat a portion of it and get a late round pick. I think the Bengals, based on how this plays out, because Burrow's going to miss so much time, and you're paying a ton of money to a lot of players this year, and I think it would salvage your season. But
yeah,
I'm going to go super long shot here and call for the upset.
You're going to say money line?
I'm gonna take the points clearly, and I'm not going to tell anybody to bet the money line. This is a little side bet that I'm going to do with myself here because I think that a couple things here. First of all, there have been games where Jake Browning's balled out. He did it last year, and I think the Lions defensively, their best corner is Terrion Arnold. And let me tell you something. He went to Alabama and is beloved by Alabama fans because he was a team captain and he had that great relationship with Nick Saban and he's a great kid. But this man has been getting cooked. I mean, I saw some charts online. He's the worst corner in the NFL right now. And they don't have the defensive firepower to keep up with Higgins and Chase. I think that this Bengals team is going to be full of piss and vinegar and win this football game. And I'm not saying that because I like the Packers. I'm not saying that it's an indictment on the Detroit Lions. But I think that Chase is going to have a career day. I think Browning's going to be like, fuck it, I'm throwing it up there, and whatever happens, happens. And I think that they're going to play – this is a four-vert type of game because the Lions secondary is not great. Kirby Joseph has been absolutely absent. And Brian Branch – I love him as an Alabama player too, but you can get in his head. He gets fired up and he makes mistakes and gets costly penalties. The game is in Cincinnati. I just think that the Lions just succumb to it. They're going to get shocked. Like it just feels like, they just played the Browns. They beat the Browns down, and then they beat the Bears down. They're 3-1. Their loss was week 1. I'm calling for the upset, the outright upset of this game. You heard it here. Maybe I eat crow, then it's really a no-lose proposition for me to call an upset of a 10-point team, and it doesn't happen. But I just think that the Bengals are going to win the football game.
Well, I have I have a specific start because I think this game is going to get so out of hand for the Lions. So I think Goff has been playing at a top 8 level for the past 4 years now. Got to start him. Yes, he offers you no rushing upside whatsoever. I get that. But in terms of a passer, he's been cooking the past 4 years. There's no sense that he's going to slow down anytime soon. If he's your QB2, I'm so happy. I mean, he's my QB3 behind Mahomes and Caleb Williams. So happy that he's my QB3. But there are certain instances, like this week, I'm going to have to start him because the Bears are on bye. So very happy that he's playing the Bengals when Caleb's on bye. So Amon-Ra St. Brown might be the best statistical receiver in the NFL right now. He's been going crazy. He's had a bunch of really big time games. He's getting targeted. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's just a consistent guy. He's been the wide receiver 2 the past 2 years in a row. And this year, he's also, I want to say, the wide receiver 2 right now. So 3 straight wide receiver 2 finishes on pace right now, which is insane. So love Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jahmyr Gibbs, I think he's going to have an explosive day. This Bengals defense is atrocious. So I do think that the Lions team is going to get out of hand very quickly. And when that happens, they're going to go to the run game. And that's why I'll segue into David Montgomery being a starter. Last week, it didn't do anything. The week before that, had a 30-point game. So it's like David Montgomery, I think once he gets going, they're going to start utilizing him more whenever they're up because they don't want to risk the Jahmyr Gibbs injury. And that's who they're going to give it to just punish the defense, right? Because this guy doesn't get tired and he's going to bulldoze through you. So David Montgomery, I think, is a really good start right now in your flex spot. And I think he gets a ton of carries in the second half when the Lions are ahead. And Jamar Chase. Look, Jamar Chase hasn't been great this year because of the injury to Joe Burrow. But still, you drafted him probably first overall in your 1 QB leagues. He's probably your wide receiver 1. You paid a lot to get Jamar Chase. If he's on your roster, you have to start him. It's just, you have to, because he's that talented. He's that explosive. He can give you a 50-point game. He's probably the only wide receiver right now that has true 50-point upside any given week, regardless of who his quarterback is.
This is that week.
And he could be... I will say, I think the Lions are going to be up, and Jake Brown is going to have to just throw it up. I think, and like you're saying, you think they're going to do that from the beginning, and I think that they could do that, and it could be a shootout. I think the Lions are winning everywhere at every position outside of maybe the wide receiver 2 spot. Right now, I like Amon-Ra St. Brown more than Jamar Chase because of how they've been playing perspectively. Amon-Ra's been playing better football than Jamar Chase. And that's because of the offensive situation, of course. But on to the sits. Jake Browning, staying away from. Do not start him unless you absolutely have to. T. Higgins has been widely irrelevant since the Joe Burrow injury. Unfortunately, I hope T. Higgins can come back because I love his profile as a wide receiver. Great possession wide receiver. Reminds me a lot of DeAndre Hopkins in his prime, but DeAndre Hopkins didn't have a ton of injury issues like T. Higgins does. Chase Brown, one of the least efficient running backs in the NFL, still to this day through 5 weeks. Stay away from Chase Brown. If he's on your team, try to sell low on him. Well, I guess don't even sell low on him because when Joe Burrow comes back, he might get a little bit of upside, but do not start him. Sit him until he has a big week and then sell him. Mike Gesicki, he's probably droppable in both Dynasty and redraft leagues at this point. He offers little to nothing in terms of upside right now, unfortunately. Last year he had a couple of big games, but right now he's a nothing burger. And then last but not least, Jameson Williams. He's a guy that can get a 60-yard touchdown out of nowhere, but I think with this game script, he's not going to be utilized a lot, and I think he gets 4 targets maximum on the day. So staying away from Jameson Williams. He's only relevant if he catches a touchdown, so staying away from him.
Yeah, sounds good, but I'm going to start I might start T. Higgins here.
Yeah.
And I even might start
You probably
Browning.
have to.
I think I might start Browning here because of how lousy the secondary is for the Detroit Lions. I mean, like I said, Arnold gets cooked, man. He gets cooked, and I think that that's what's going to happen here again. It just feels like upset. I think that this is what's called a look ahead spot here too.
Yeah.
Because next week the Lions head out to Kansas City, and they can easily be having their eyes looking down the field for something along those lines. It just feels like that's the case here. So I think you could start Browning. I think you could start almost anybody not named Chase Brown in this game and get a ton of points.
Well, I'm glad that we agree on Chase Brown because I think he's a terrible running back. No offense to Chase Brown. Next up, we have the Washington Commanders going on the road to play the Los Angeles Chargers. Two teams on the up and up. The Commanders, they get Jaden Daniels back this week. They've been playing good football with Mariota. And the Chargers, they're coming off of a loss to the New York Giants, but they still, they had some chances to win that game. Omarion Hampton's looking phenomenal. QJ's looking phenomenal. Keenan Allen's been doing great outside of last week. Lad McConkey being your third option, you probably feel great about that, right? Oronde Gadsden at tight end's been doing good for the Chargers. I love everything about this Chargers offense. Terry McLaurin, I believe, is out for this game, so that is a big loss for the Commanders. That's why I'm leaning the LA Chargers minus 2.5. I think the line is currently 3.5, so I'm going with the Chargers here.
Yeah, I like the Chargers big time.
They're probably my most confident play of the weekend.
This is a gouging. I mean, when you have Terry McLaurin out and all this hype about Bill McCroskey-Merritt hasn't panned out, I'm going to take the better quarterback. Jaden Daniels is just coming back, so he's got some time off. The Commanders got to travel all the way to the West Coast. I mean, it just feels like this is set up to really be a disaster. Like I said about Washington last year, they had that schedule that was very favorable for them and just pulled off an upset in Detroit. But then they got to Philadelphia and got smacked in that NFC Championship game here. I think this is a comeback down spot for the Commanders here. I think they're really starting to see that they're having holes, especially on the defensive side of the football. There's just no pass rush there. I think that Jim Harbaugh is going to have himself a day with these guys. And quite frankly, Quentin Johnston, absolutely a beast.
I'll talk about him in a minute.
In our league, I traded him straight up to get Judkins because he's a little bit younger. And I don't know if QJ can stay up like this because he's had the dropsies and stuff like that. But I just think that in this game here, give me the Chargers. I think it's a belt-to-ass kind of game here. The Commanders aren't spiraling. They're just injured. And that's kind of, I think, enough to have to travel on the road to Justin Herbert. I'll take the Chargers in this spot.
And I wanna say one more thing. They were saying, well, Jaden Daniels has been out. And no offense to Jaden Daniels, but the offense looked horrible the last time Jaden Daniels played. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury, when he played, he looked like when he had the offense completely healthy out there, it did not look good. Because I've said this before, Cliff Kingsbury, he takes the league by storm. Anytime he goes somewhere new, implements a new offense, and it's a college offense basically is what it is. And then everybody gets film on it, and then all of a sudden it's not efficient anymore because guess what? You're not going to be able to do these quick passes anymore, Jaden Daniels. Sorry, we're going to cover the short areas of the field and make you throw deep. Oh, you can't do that very well? Well, that sucks. We're going to contain
you. He can.
He may can, but the past few weeks that he's been trying to air it out, it just hasn't been here. There, if they take away the short game from Jaden Daniels, this team is not even close to what it was last year. And that's just what I've seen on the film. He hasn't been able to hit the deep balls yet. I know at LSU he's really good at doing that. That's why he won a Heisman Trophy. But thus far, he just isn't able to hit his guys right now. And whenever you keep him in the pocket and you don't let him run around and be dynamic there, it just limits what he can do. And the Cliff Kingsbury offense is really kind of falling apart. Yeah. I like the Chargers a ton here. So like I said, the most confident play of the weekend. But despite that, Jaden Daniels has the profile as a quarterback, regardless of whether he hits the big play or not. He's got the rushing upside to be a game breaker on any given week. He did it last year. He was phenomenal last year. I am starting Jaden Daniels, even though he may still be a little bit banged up with the knee. And Deebo Samuel, I told people to go grab him in the preseason just because I was like, guys, everybody's saying he's slow. You see a couple of practice reps in training camp where he's running routes, and they're like, oh, he looks slow, and then everybody's selling him. Well, hey, guys, guess what? He's not slow. He looks really good, and he's been looking good as long as he's healthy. So Deebo, I told people to trade a second for him, and he's been phenomenal. So good play there. Like Deebo Samuel in this game as well. And Justin Herbert. I was a little skeptical of him going into the season because I didn't know how much they were going to let him throw. Never questioned the talent or the quarterback ability because he's great. all over the place. Unless it's the playoffs, then he's Nathan Peterman. But in the regular season, he's been playing great. He's been playing great football, has some of the best throws on film throughout the season. So love what he's been putting on tape. Quentin Johnston, that is how you spell that, I hope. Quentin Johnston, great season thus far. He learned how to magically catch a football. He's been playing big. He's been separating. He's been making all the big plays, all the big catches when he needs to. He's just a completely different receiver. He's not a completely different receiver, but all the flaws and the utilization that the Chargers tried to have him just be this sacrificial X, they're letting him get off on the slants, and they're letting him get targets to where he can utilize that big frame and get the yak ability. He's super physical, and that does kind of worry me a little bit with him getting hurt possibly in the future. But Quentin Johnston, as of right now, you have to start him. I'm starting him over some solid wide receivers this week because I believe in him that much. I mean, I can't argue with the film. He's been phenomenal.
And I will say this about him.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hold on, before you get to him. His first 2 seasons, he was having issues with drops.
Absolutely.
And there was another player that went on to have a fantastic career that went through the same process. First 2 seasons had serious drops. They were ready to run him out of town, and then he picked it up. His name, Devontae Adams. This could very well be a situation. Quentin Johnston gets open, man. And it was hard for me to trade him, but I know what I needed for my team. But I'm a big QJ guy.
They're very similar players, too.
Last year, he had a couple games where he had 2 touchdowns in a game. I mean, the talent was always there. He just had to kind of get out of his own head. And I think that he's going to go on an amazing burning stretch this year. So absolute start with that. I just had to say that because Devontae was the same way, dropping key passes. You knew it was there. Was he going to get it together? And then went on to have this amazing career. So
now,
sky's the limit.
I want to say I have QJ in a few of my big money leagues, right? And last year, I was like, do I need to just sell low on him? Is he a lost cause? Because he has the touchdown upside. Maybe I need to maybe I need to sell him for like a 2nd round pick or something if somebody wants to buy him. And then week 18 happened, and he had 14 targets, like 10 catches, 140 yards. And I was like, no, I got to hold off. And I held off, and it's paid dividends. So Quentin Johnston, thank you for proving me wrong. You're a stud. You're an absolute stud. And then last but not least, look, I hated to see Najee Harris go out like that. I mean, that's just really bad, shitty injury to have, especially for a running back. It's very tough. And I wasn't a hater on Amarian Hampton. I had him as my RB3 in the class. But Hampton, I was very questionable about because of Najee Harris. And through the first couple weeks, Najee Harris capped Hampton's ceiling. They split a bunch of carries. This past week, Harris goes down. Hampton explodes, like almost 150 yards and a touchdown. Had a ton of catches as well. He's one of the true workhorses, I think. You know, Hassan Haskins is a solid depth piece, but Hampton's going to be out there all 3 downs. He's a stud. He looked great last week. I don't expect him to look any different this week, so I'm starting him. If he's your RB1, feel good about it. Sits Terry McLaurin, obviously he's out, but when I made this, he was questionable. Even if he did play, he was hurt. Still probably would be hurt in the game, so stay away from him. If I had to replace him with somebody, I'd probably replace him with Luke McCaffrey. I know he caught a touchdown last week. We just don't know who's catching the touchdowns here. Zach Ertz might be the only pass catcher in this offense that I would feel okay outside of Deebo Samuel starting. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, I just got to see a game where he's got the volume and he's getting the production. We haven't seen that yet. Chris Rodriguez, he's got a big, play every once in a while. He's a good in between the tackles, physical runner. Stay away from the running backs right now. You'll thank me later. Ladd McConkey, at some point, he's not injured, I don't think. But for me, I have to just stay away from him. Because at this point,
for now, it's for now.
Consistently underperforming. I love him as a player. Reception, perception. If you like Matt Harmon stuff, elite reception, perception profile. He gets open all the time, but he just hasn't been able. He had 7 targets last week, 1 catch. 11 yards. That's 2.1 points, guys. This might be his game where he goes crazy, but right now Keenan Allen's cooking. Quentin Johnston's cooking. They're going to get it going on the run game with Amarian Hampton. They're going to give him a ton of carries. Rondé Gadsden, there's just too many mouths to feed. And Ladd McConkey, not a big touchdown guy. Quentin Johnston is a big touchdown guy, so I'm staying with QJ here instead of Ladd McConkey. And Trey Harris, I don't even know why I put him on here, but he was their second-round pick, wide receiver. He has done basically nothing this year. Stay away from him. I mean, he might have a big play here and there, but staying away from Trey Harris for now.
Good list. Good list here.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on to the next game.
Sunday Night Football.
This is the thumbnail. The Patriots, New England Patriots going on the road to play the Buffalo Bills. Now, the Bills played the Saints last week, and it was a competitive game. I'd like the Patriots plus 8.5. I think the line's moved to 7.5 right now. I think the Bills do win this game. I think they win by 3 to 6 points. So I'm taking the Patriots here in the points. I really love they put up over 40 points last week. I love what the Patriots have been doing. They've been slowly getting better and better each week. Drake May looks like he's developing week after week after week, and that's scary with his potential. I like Travion Henderson a lot. I love, the Maj Podge of receivers that they have with Stephon Diggs. He went over 100 yards receiving last week. Kayshon Boutte has been solid, right? So they have some weapons. So I'd like the Patriots to cover here. I think that they'll lose by 3 to 6 points. They might lose on a game-winning field goal, or they might take the Bills' first loss. They might give them their first loss.
I like the Bengals in the big upset, and you like New England in the big upset here. It's good to have that kind of
New England has players that I like. I like Drake May a ton. So
I'll say this: the Bills gave up a ton of points to the Ravens and shouldn't have won that game realistically.
Yeah,
if we're just being honest about it, it took a miracle comeback, and it kind of changed the trajectory of Baltimore season. I think 8.5 is generous here. I think that there's still an overreaction. I mean, New England should have beat Pittsburgh. Ramondre Stevenson fumbled it twice inside the 2-yard line.
Yeah,
it should have beat the Steelers. I like the Patriots getting the points here in Bills Mafia. I think that they can hang with Buffalo. It's just so hard for me to get behind some of these Bills players because I think Josh Allen does everything for this team.
Yeah, he does.
I'm just not super, super high on James Cook. I'm not high on the Bills receivers at all.
Not a fan of the RB1 on the season, fantasy-wise?
What are we doing here with Keon Coleman? If I'm New England, I'm going to get up there on a line of scrimmage, and I'm going to say, look, you're going to have to throw the football. And Josh Allen can do it. Don't get me wrong here. But I don't think that it's 8.5 points worth that it's going to happen here. I'll take New England and the points. Should be a close game, division rival. It's not a long travel. It's Sunday night national football, national TV. I think it could be, like you said, it could be a 3 or 4 point game. Patriots can win it. Not sure if they do or not. But, it could be the Bills. I mean, it could be the Bills' first loss. It would absolutely rip up Bills fans to lose at home to the Patriots for their first loss of the season. Tom Brady tortured them for 20-something years. I'm sure that they're sick. They're sick of New England, and they want New England to have a Jets-like career for the next 20 years for all the abuse.
I feel it, man. I understand it. But for the start sits, I think Drake May, he's one of those quarterbacks that has the rushing upside, and he's been looking really good throwing the football here lately. So, he's had some questionable throws, especially last year. He had a ton of questionable throws last year. This year, he's cleaned that up a good bit. He still throws, a questionable throw here and there. But Drake May, looking phenomenal. I love him. And in terms of a QB1, I think he's fine. And then Travion Henderson, I say it every single week. He got his first touchdown last week. He had, I think, 12, 13 points last week. So love what Travion Henderson's been doing. He hasn't been super efficient with the carries, especially last week, but he got his first touchdown. He's gotten the passing game work down pat. I think Ramondre Stevenson, he didn't look good again this past week. So I think Travion Henderson's going to get even more carries than he did last week, and he's going to lead the team. He led the team in touches at the running back position. I think he'll lead the team in carries this weekend. And then Stephon Diggs, a breakout game, over 100 yards. Looks like they're finally getting some chemistry together between Drake May and Stephon Diggs. I know Stephon Diggs has all the off-the-field stuff, he is a head case sometimes, but we knew that. We knew that during his time at Buffalo. I mean, we knew
And
that.
Minnesota.
Yeah, so it's like we understand what he's got going on, but he's still a good football player, even at his age, coming off a major injury. I think Stephon Diggs is a solid flex play if you need him. Josh Allen, he's QB1. There's nothing to say that hasn't already been said about Josh Allen. Great passing upside, will have a rushing touchdown. It's crazy because he has more rushing touchdowns than like Thurman Thomas. He's got more rushing touchdowns than Christian McCaffrey. Like a ton of solid running backs. Josh Allen has more rushing touchdowns than them. That's just how crazy of a player he is. And then last but not least, I got to start James Cook. I know you said you're not high on him, but James Cook is the RB1 in fantasy. He's scored in every single week. He's had over 100 yards in every single week. He is just destroying fantasy right now. I thought, honestly, last year he had 13, 14 touchdowns. And then before the past 2 years before that, he had like 8 total touchdowns. So I felt like last year was a little bit of a fluke with the touchdowns. He's on pace for a 20 touchdown season right now. So obviously, I don't think that's going to happen, but he's really on pace to do some special things this year. He's like the Saquon of last year.
Yeah.
So it's I have to start him. You have to start him until he gets hurt, I think. He's just having that good of a year. And then for the sits, Kayshon Boutte finally finds himself on the red side of this graphic. And I think it's because of the emergence of Stephon Diggs. Boutte is probably an okay flex play, but at this point, he didn't get a lot of targets last week or the week before that. So he's starting to kind of cool down a little bit. Ramondre Stevenson, already talked about him. He's been struggling. At least he didn't fumble last week, but he's just not been efficient with the football, and I think Travion's probably their guy moving forward. Khalil Shakir, I have him always. He had a touchdown last week. I think he had 16, 17 total points. But like I said, if he doesn't catch a touchdown, he's like 8 points, 6 to 8 points every single week. So I'm staying away from Khalil Shakir right now unless I don't have any better options. Josh Palmer, stay away from him. He's a bait option. And Keon Coleman, I had a big week 1 game. Since then, it's been kind of quiet. Hasn't gotten a lot of targets. I love Keon as a player. I think he's a super funny guy as well. But for now, I'm just staying away from him until he gets consistent targets.
Fair enough. Those are fair assessments. I think with the Ramondre, though, I think that is he still starting?
It's weird. So, he had 12 carries, I think, last week. Travion had 11, but he also had 4 catches. So, they're really kind of splitting carries. By the end of the game, Travion was the guy that was getting all the carries. They did have a really good offensive performance, but it's kind of like a split backfield right now. But I do think Travion Henderson will take over very soon, just because I think Ramondre Stevenson had 3.1 yards a carry or something like that. So staying away from him, definitely. One of my favorite games of the week. I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan. They're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars
Monday night
in Duval County. I am taking the Chiefs here. I don't believe in the Jaguars. I don't like their offense. Their defense is okay, but I think they've snuck away from some pretty bad teams. I know they're 3-1. They have a better record than the Chiefs, ironically, but I like what the Chiefs have done in their games, even when they lose, better than the Jaguars have done in their games. Trevor Lawrence, at this point, I'm just not a real big believer in fantasy-wise. Travis Etienne, we have a really good run defense. So did the 49ers, but he cooked them. So I think we can keep Travis Etienne under wraps, and I think we can win this football game.
I'm taking the points here. Because Kansas City just has not shown an ability to blow anybody out.
They just blew out the Ravens.
Hold on. let me finish my point here. Against the quality defense, I think the Jaguars got way better players up front and linebacking core than what we have in Baltimore.
Fair
I mean,
enough.
you still got, Trevon Walker up there. You got Hines Allen as your pass rushers, and they're going to give Kansas City a little bit of a fit there. Kansas City still, I haven't seen anything that says the run game's going to do a lick of anything. And if you're the Jaguars, you're just going to kind of go after the quarterback. You have to make Mahomes make plays, which is crazy to say because he can clearly do that.
Yes, he can.
But again, Xavier Worthy's back, so that helps a lot. But I think the Jaguars, I think this might be a game where BTJ comes back to form here. I think that they swung and missed on Travis Hunter, but I think that they've got enough going on with ETN. They've got a little bit of momentum here at home. I think they're going to rise to the occasion. I think the Jaguars can cover. They may not win this football game, but I don't think the Chiefs win by a touchdown. I'm gonna take them testing it with ETN and BTJ. You're gonna have to pick your poison here. And I don't know if Parker Washington, like I think he can get some plays, or I don't know if De'Ami Brown's going to be back in the lineup. But I do like Jacksonville's receiving core a lot
Very
better than I like.
underrated.
And Rashee Rice is not back this week, right?
No, he is
So-
back week 7.
So once he comes back, I'll have a little more faith in Kansas City. But until then, all these close games, with the exception of Baltimore, because I think that's a different kind of. They were really getting after it, and then they got to go on the road and do this down south, man. I think that Jaguars kind of get up from Monday Night Football with a winning team. It just feels like there might be a little bit of magic in the air there. Give me the points.
Yeah, they definitely have a positive trajectory. They got some heat under them for sure. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the things that I think for the start sits. I think Patrick Mahomes, he's off a 4-touchdown performance. He's got a breakout performance. I think he's going to do something similar versus the Jaguars. I think, the explosive passing game's happening now. Xavier Worthy's getting hit down the seam, big time plays. I think Mahomes is going to, have a pretty solid performance. I mean, he always is. He's done great this year, despite a really poor supporting cast like usual. Xavier Worthy, great. I think they're going to scheme him a lot of touches. They're going to give him at least a couple of deep balls a game. I don't think that the cornerback room for the Chiefs or for the Jaguars rather has a lot of talent right now. I think Worthy is going to be able to get 1 or 2 big plays. And then Travis Kelce, I know the linebacking core for the Jaguars has been fine, but I think Travis Kelce has enough upside any given week to start him. And then Travis Etienne, I think we have a great run defense, but for whatever reason, every single week, Travis Etienne's breaking off a 50, 60-yard run for a touchdown.
Contract year.
Yeah, look, contract year, and he's been playing great. So I have to stick with Travis Etienne. I would be dumb not to start him considering how well he's done over the past 5 weeks. And Brian Thomas Jr., I do think he's going to get clouded by Trent McDuffie. But at this point, I mean, BTJ has the explosive upside on any given play to have an 80-yard touchdown. So I like him a lot. And then I'm going to go with Pacheco and the Kareem Hunt to sit. They just split carries. There's not a ton of upside there unless one of them gets a touchdown. And you don't know which one's going to get the touchdown. If I had to lean, it would be Kareem Hunt, and I think he gets maybe 8 carries. Trevor Lawrence, 1 touchdown guy. I'm staying away from him. He just can't throw multiple touchdowns in a game. So he's been really disappointing with a really good supporting cast. Travis Hunter, he had a decent game last week, had a big-time catch for, I think, 30 yards. But outside of that, it's been quiet. He's being played more on offense now than defense. He's been kind of flip-flopping from week to week, just trying to see what they got. And then last up, Bashal Tootin, I think he had a touchdown last week. But I'm staying away – or 2 weeks ago he had a touchdown. I'm still staying away from Tootin for now because, I mean, man, he's not going to get a lot of volume because Travis Etienne is just that good right now.
I'll tell you, like looking at this lineup, like Travis Hunter, I think the Jaguars did the Browns a favor just by trading all that capital to get him, and I just don't think he's an elite wide receiver. Again, like I've said with Travis Etienne or with Travis Hunter, he's more of a player that I think got a little bit too much hype being coached in Deion Sanders, and that it was him and Shador, and there was nobody else on those Colorado teams, and we're seeing it now with Colorado's regression with what Coach Sanders is doing out there in the Big 12. But Travis Hunter, I mean, they gave a king's ransom to the Browns, and the Browns have drafted so well that they're going to be set up for the future without any cap breaking stuff. That Deshaun Watson contract's gonna fall off, and they're going to see what they got with Dylan Gabriel. But going back to the Jags, Kansas City's going to be a tough test. And I think BTJ is going to have a good day. I know McDuffie is an all-pro, and the Kansas City defense has just been playing absolutely amazing. Zero doubt about that. I disagree with Bobby on Travis Kelce. I mean, he just been notably absent. Really hasn't done a whole lot. He's on the downside of his career, and it does feel like Kansas City's offense is all about Pat Mahomes, which it should be. He's your superstar. He's the best quarterback in the league, him and Josh Allen on any given day. But Josh Allen just has a little bit more flexibility with what he has as far as weapons. Because, man, Kansas City without Rashee Rice has shown that they're really struggling. But with Xavier Worthy coming in, I do think that they're able to handle business accordingly. It should be a good game. But like I said, I'll take the Jags. What a show we have had. I mean, we got 43 viewers talking football on a Friday night. I know a lot of you guys are probably on X because according to the YouTube counter, there's only 2 people watching on my YouTube feed. But if you could, I put the link in my X there. If you could just subscribe to my channel, it would help me grow. I'm trying to get monetized. I don't have enough subscribers to qualify for that. So that's my humble way of asking. That's how you help me grow my show. We do this every Friday. We're going to be doing all football season. I might do a live stream on Saturday with XFL Jim talking about everything with the UFL with those 3 franchises just moving.
Heck yeah.
But new ownership, like they got new financing. I think that the UFL could thrive if they just had themselves individual owners that can commit to these smaller stadiums and understand that it's going to be a quality product and stop starting the season in March. And as far as betting goes, you guys follow my channel and follow me on X. I put bets up all the time. We're going to be sticking to college football. I'm going to have some college basketball plays out there daily. And again, I want to thank Bobby for making all the graphics for my YouTube channel. He really does that for me. It's super gracious of him to do that. And Bobby, it has been almost 3 hours. We have 40, peaked at 45 at one point. I saw.
Heck yeah!
Anything you want to plug or promote?
If you guys like film breakdowns, I'll be doing one on Tet. I'll be going over some 2026 rookie mock drafts. I'll be doing my Dynasty running back rankings through the first quarter of the season. All that stuff will be coming out soon. So if you guys want to check that out, definitely go check out my channel. I do all things fantasy dynasty and go over rookies as well. My favorite thing to do is going over rookies and upcoming talent, stuff like that. So if you guys like that, for sure. And obviously, if you want to win money, download Cut and take some of the plays. He has free plays. Justin has free plays every single time there's a game. He's got a free play for it, and he's been doing really well with them thus far. Won me some money yesterday on the Niners. So
I'll tell you this, on my page, I put all my winnable link up there, and I've got 2 plans right now. I've got one that's free, and if you just sign up on winnable.com, it's WINIBLE, and look for Justin Paul Sports, you can sign up there, and it's free to sign up. And when I put my free picks up there, I do those early in the morning, usually between 5 and 6 a.m. Pacific time, to where I put my free picks up there. It'll shoot you an email or a text with my pick. And then I've got my college football package, which I'll put up tomorrow morning. That's $10, y'all. And I'm a whopping 10-2 right now, or 10-3 right now. I'm hitting at 77% of my paid picks. Absolutely crushing it. I took some of Bobby's money last week. I want to help you guys win. It's one thing I love doing is sports betting. I love doing that. I love giving plays to people and helping them win. But I do want to help my business grow. I'm not asking for arms and legs. You're getting a product. You're getting my picks. They're all tracked. They're all traced. They're not edited. I had just about a little over 500 season with the free plays with everything going on. I hold myself accountable for all my picks all the time. I don't give you promises that most betting wants to do. I don't do stupid parlays. People love parlays, but they don't understand that the odds work against them. Do individual bets, pick a side or a total. That's it. If you want to do something fun, like that's why I gave out the touchdown prop for Marvin Mims, that might get you a little bit of money. I mean, Bobby's hit on these parlays. He's hit tens of thousands of dollars. So don't listen to me. But
Well, in my experience, it was hundreds of thousands. So
yeah.
I got really lucky on one.
But see, that's the
Still
thing.
living on that to this day. So
A 15-team touchdown parlay is a 1 in a million shot. I mean, it's really hard to get. So, but that's part of what the fantasy does too. Is you understand players and you understand matchups, and that'll help you with your betting. You know,
Yep.
you don't have to overcomplicate it at all. You look at the teams, you look at their previous week, you look at the line, the offensive line, the defensive line, the quarterbacks. If you check my channel, I've got a couple of videos there explaining how I make my predictions. And we go from there. And I'm just excited that college basketball is going to be rolling in because I'll have plays up all the time. It's the only non-football sport that I really enjoy betting on. With baseball, I did that all summer, but that's just not for me. And I was actually really good at the baseball picks, really good at that, but I just can't watch baseball like that. It just drives me insane. But with that being said, it is 8:45 Pacific time. Thank you guys for your time. Please tune in next Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be live. We will have everything going on with that. And I will have a 5-unit max play tomorrow on my $10 card. I'm 3-0 on my 5-unit max plays. Get the card tomorrow. I'll post it on X. Y'all have a good night. Roll Tide.